It's the third and final day of competition in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship season opener, and we're here in the rotisserie that is the Fujairah Grand Prix at the United Arab Emirates. 39 degrees Celsius, and we're not even at 9 a.m. It is a sizzling hot day as the riders prepare for another exciting day of competition for their fourth and final heats, and of course the finals that will crown us our winners of the Fujairah Grand Prix in the juniors, women, masters, stock and stock rookies, as well as the elite, the Grand Prix of MotoSurf. Hello everybody, Jake Sanson in the commentary box once again here on the shoreline at the Fujairah Marine Club. This fantastic weekend organised in fantastic fashion under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad Al Sharqi, the Crown Prince of Fujairah. This is the only city on the eastern coast of United Arab Emirates. It is an hour and 10 minutes drive away from the city of Dubai. And this is pure Arabia. It hasn't really been westernized or modernized in the same way as the capital city of Abu Dhabi or the tourist city of Dubai. This place is pure Arabia, and it is a wonderful location, famed for its mountain climbing, its nature, its incredible cuisine, its bullfighting, and its water sports. It is a fantastic location to kickstart our season that takes in so many fantastic locations over the motorsport calendar of the MotoSurf discipline. We will be in Turkey in 2 months' time for the second round of the championship. Then MotoSurf becomes part of the World Games in the summer in Chengdu in China. 24 male athletes have competed and qualified for that discipline, and 19 women will also represent their countries in the World Games in August. Then rounds 3 and 4 will be on adjacent weekends in Europe, in Italy and Croatia, and then we'll finish off the season in November in the gorgeous Chinese territory of Macau. It's going to be a fantastic season in 2025. And after the racing we saw yesterday, anything can happen, and it probably will. Just because a rider is a race winner and a world champion, it does not mean they are vulnerable to mistakes. Friday, the sea was calm and settled for qualifying, perfect conditions. Yesterday, there were all sorts of difficulties as the wind accelerated, the temperature rose, and it meant that the racecourse suddenly became treacherous and difficult. All sorts of obstacles to dodge, even the odd turtle actually came and caused a few problems for the riders out there on the course. There's our dry pit cam inside the awning, as all of the competitors and riders will keep very much cool between the two races that they will have today, and that's the only way that they are keeping in a good position. There is our wet pit cam. The reason we call it a dry pit cam and a wet pit cam is, of course, on the wet pit cam you are right next to the ocean itself, and in the dry pits that's where you can get dry and keep yourself nice and cool out of the elements. The temperatures are set to roar to 44 degrees Celsius today, so I do not envy any of these safety officials out on the water, any of the camera crew around the course, and any of the competitors and their supporters who are going to have to brave the conditions throughout the course of the day. Keeping cool and keeping hydrated is the only order of business that matters over the course of this final day of competition. Riders have been telling me that basically all day long they've had a bottle of water in their hands. As soon as one is emptied, they take another one on board. It is ridiculously warm. And of course, as the wind accelerates, that makes the conditions out on the course itself almost treacherous for these riders. They've all got plenty of experience, but they're definitely getting a real taste of how difficult MotoSurf racing can be. If this is your first time watching MotoSurf and you're thinking, what on earth is this sport? Well, it's a very simple concept. Moto plus surf equals MotoSurf. These boards are 20 kilograms in weight, made of carbon fiber, and they have a 100cc engine embedded into the core of the board itself with a jet propeller on the exit of the exhaust. They have a fuel tank of about 3 litres, which adds 2.5 kilograms total to the board. That is the only standard part in the elite category that has to remain the same. All of the other categories, you buy the board out of the box and you race it as standard. In the elite category, you can change pretty much anything you want to it to try and get it to go a little bit faster. Those 100cc engines will generate anywhere between 13 and 15 brake horsepower. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when your board is 20 kilograms and you're stood on top of it, it is pretty quick. In the elite category, they can reach top speeds of 70 kilometers an hour. Not that they'll get the chance to do that on a course this tight and technical. It's only when you are on the straight and narrow and you've got the sea perfectly calm that you'll get that chance. But the sea is not perfectly calm this weekend. With the wind picking up It's going to be a much tougher task. The riders are heading to the water for the first time, and it's the juniors that lead us off. Heat 4, Group A. Stanislav Kohut, Ellen Berdova, Leolisha Kratishvili, Nela Pozhnikova, Maja Žilevinska, Oliver Wolf from Matthias Barvik, Melanie Janhubova, and the final two racers in this particular class, we have Max Hruška and Jakub Norochny. So this is based on the performances that we had in Heat 1 and 2 yesterday. The racing starting lineup for race 1 and 2 was set by qualifying on Friday. A rule change for the 2025 season, though, means that the starting order for races 3 and 4 are based on the points scored from race 1 and 2. That means it's a little bit easier for riders who have had a tough time in qualifying to then put it back together. If they can salvage a decent result in the first two races, then they can improve their grid positions. And we had Mad Leo on the commentary yesterday, Leolisha Kratishvili, who said the new rules have definitely suited him. He had a difficult time in qualifying, could only put it 5th on the grid, but his consistency in race 1 and 2 means he's now going to start 3rd for race 3 and 4. He did a good job yesterday, managed to come through in 3rd position. Would like to do the same thing today. Now, in the junior category, the boys and the girls race against each other until they get to the finals. Then they are separated, so the girls can race each other and the boys can race each other. But in the heats, they race on the same circuit at the same time. So we've got Stanislav Kohut, who has got 3 wins out of 3 in the junior boy category, and Ellen Berdova, who's had 3 wins out of 3 in the girl category. They have been the dominant forces so far. But now they're going to try and get themselves into a good position and finish off the heats in fine style. There is Maja Žilevinska, very talented lady competitor in the junior girl category, the Polish racer. So Maja Žilevinska, 14 years of age for the Tenzing MotoSurf Poland team. We actually had Jerzy of the team, who was the team principal of Tenzing MotoSurf Poland, telling us that over the course of the next 18 months, they would dearly love to become the 3rd big team in this sport, after Rocket Racing and Apex Pilots. Those are the 2 teams that really dominate the sport. Not that they're the only teams in the paddock, of course. We have the likes of MS Czech Talent, we have the likes of JetSurf's factory outfit, the HKC Racing Team, FG Forest, CMS Racing, and then, of course, we have the individual teams across the different countries. JetSurf Pardubice, who are part of the Czech racing fraternity, La Cucina Nera, who are a little bit more intercontinental. We have the team from Seawolf Autosports, which Michael Michaelides has entered under. And then the national teams have all put teams into the mix. We also have the teams from various different outlets around the globe. We have the JetSurf Slovakia team. We have the Twinsy Racing team. Motoshop Zubor, which is very much the Zubor family outfit. And then various other locales, various other locales putting teams into the mix. But here in the United Arab Emirates, the racers are definitely finding it very tricky indeed. Out on the water, they are just getting the boards dialed in. Then they will form up together in a line with the first board in the line, Stanislav Kohut, and then in front of Ellen Berdova and Leolisha Kratishvili, Nela Pozhnikova and Maja Žilevinska from Oliver Wolf, and then Matthias Barvik, Melanie Janhubova, Maximilian Hruška, and Jakub Norochny. That's how it'll all work out. So now they run into the line. No practice start. They only do that in the first heat. So now they will run in formation. Once they're all together in formation and formed up, they will get the signal and the command to race. And then they will have 5 laps of the course with 1 long lap that they have to take. It's essentially an extension of the course by about 30 to 40 seconds, depending on the confidence of the rider. And every rider has to take the long lap at least once. We'll talk you through it as we go into the action and the battle. It looks like a fairly decently formed start. We wait for the command. And Stanislav Kohut will lead the field around Ellen Berdova alongside him. And as they charge for the first corner, it's going to be a really exciting start if we can get underway straight away. The riders are close to each other in position. They're not quite formed up. We need a couple of riders to just move slightly further forward in the line to make it a little bit more even and fair. Looks good to me, and now they dip down, and we are racing, and it's a fantastic start from Leolisha Kratishvili, who actually pulls slightly ahead of Ellen Berdova. Now can he get the trajectory and turn in on the inside line? He's going to cut across and moves up, but runs wide, and that's enough for Ellen Berdova to get back into second position again. So Berdova goes to the far side on the right-hand side of the slalom. Leo follows Stanislav Kohut to the left-hand side. He got the better start, but wasn't able to turn the board through without risking a fall. As a result of that, they're now going to come out of the slalom together, and Ellen Bardova is going to beat Leo Lichtenkrantishvili out of the slalom, but she runs wide in the process and then manages to cut back across Leo. So very nicely handled on the start, and Stanislav Kohut has been able to hit the front. Couple of moments out of the slalom as the juniors work their way to a crescendo, but it's a brilliant launch to the race as Stanislav Kohut has no problems to lead the field around, and the top four are exactly as they started. The one who really struggled off the line there was Maja Juliewinska. The Pole has sadly slipped back into 8th position. It looks like we've got a couple of riders already going for the long lap. That's the 6 of Oliver Wolf. So Oliver Wolf deciding he wants to go on the long lap nice and early. Takes the far side of the course then. That's when you turn left and you go onto the long loop on the west side of the course, and then you bring it back and you rejoin at turn 3. So essentially you complete turn 3 and 4 twice in one lap to get the loop. There is Leo Lichtenkrantishvili. So the Austrian youngster, 12 years of age, really starting to find his feet in this category now. And you can see the slalom. They can choose whether they go right or left. A lot of them choosing to go to the left side on this particular run. The reason you choose whether to go left or right is essentially to give yourself a little bit of clear water if you wish to do so, because following in the wake of another board, you're basically running in their white water. The reason it's white is because it becomes oxidized, of course. Any science lesson will tell you that one. And so the riders having to learn how to position themselves around the course so they don't have to follow too closely in the wake of the other boards. The drone pictures giving you a real indication of the intensity of this course. Fabulous stuff, and great to see the shoreline so beautifully represented here. Anybody going for the long lap? Yes, it does look like we've got one rider there leaving the circuit and going for the long lap on the far side. That basically adds another 30 to 40 seconds on the course. You can see that right at the top of your picture, going for the long lap. So let's look back down to the shore. Stanislav Kohut having a very decent run, just puts his thumb up, says, I'm okay, no worries at all. Just enjoying himself. This is when they get to showcase any problems to their engineers on the far side. And normally a thumbs up will do. You don't really have much time for anything else. You can see that they hold their throttle in one hand and engage it in fantastic fashion, and then they're able to measure the intensity of the throttle as they work their way through. Now is Ellen Bardova just trying to keep up with Stanislav Kohut, but of course she's running in her own separate race as the junior category is separated into the boys and the girls. They run together in the heats and then they are separated for the final. So Ellen Bardova, 3 times a winner over the course of this weekend already in the junior girl category, 2nd overall on all 3 occasions, and certainly looking very strong here again today. She just has so much confidence. Hand in the air, that means she's going to take the long lap, and so too does Stanislav Kohut just in front of her. So the leaders take them out. Oh, goodness me, Ellen Bardova very nearly dropping it on the first apex of the long lap. They only have to take the long lap once, of course, in the junior race, because it's only 5 laps in duration, the heat. Big moment, though, for Ellen Bardova. She nearly drops it on the way through into the long lap. And there is Leo Lichtenkrantishvili. I think he's just taken his long lap as well. So no major concerns for him as he runs in 3rd position, rolling very nicely indeed in front of Nela Pozhnikova, who's looking much quicker today than she did yesterday. She was mighty in qualifying, but it just didn't work out for her at all over the course of yesterday. 3 races, and there was a real struggle for her to keep the pace upright. But it's nowhere near been as difficult a week so far as it has been for the Polish rider Maja Juliewinska. So she's had a difficult start to the day again as well, a very tricky start. Hopefully the final will go a bit better for her as we watch Stanislav Kohut zip and zoom his way out of the slalom. And now positioning himself. There is Ellen Bardova going into the slalom. There's a real artistry to getting this right, but when the waves are choppy and the sea is quite strong, it's not easy to find your feet in that part of the race. So out of the loop, and white flag is in the air, as now we've got Stanislav Kohut going into the final lap. Through the left, through the right. Very easy to know where the corners are if you are a MotoSurf racer. You go right of the red buoy, left of the yellow buoy. And of course you turn in the opposing direction to the buoy. So you go right of the red one to turn left, and you go left of the yellow one to turn right. And that's how it works. So Stanislav Kohut just finishing off on the far side of the course on the last lap. He will do on this part of the course. It's keeping it nice and tidy. Then they will have two yellow buoys that they will hook around in a sort of a hairpin configuration out of the slaloms there. Just working their way through the turns and keeping it nice and balanced. Now getting back around to go into the slalom section where you choose to go left or right. Stanislav Kohut has gone left. That seems to have been the way he's done it for most of this race, to be fair. You're allowed to choose whichever way you go, left or right. It's totally up to you, but it's all about confidence and it's all about feel. As Stanislav Kohut exits the slalom. He's got 3 turns to go now, into the left, and then the double right-hander to finish off and cross the line. It's been absolute plain surfing for Stanislav Kohut, and he makes it 4 wins out of 4, no worries at all. And that is a dominant run in the junior boy. There's Ellen Berdova to cross the line to make it a dominant run in the junior girl as well. And Leo Lishakatishvili makes it 4 third places, I should say, out of 4. So a very good run indeed there for Mad Leo, who is the favourite to take on Stanislav Kohut in the junior boy final. Nela Pozhnikova remains the favourite to take on Ellen Berdova in the junior girl final. Those 2 races will be the first 2 of the afternoon session, where we'll be at 44 degrees Celsius by that point. So if I was one of the junior competitors, I'd be staying in the awning and getting myself well hydrated if I were you. So a fascinating duel awaits us as we get ourselves into a good situation. Perfect. Good opportunities for these youngsters to put on a good show. So this is going to be an interesting start to the day then, as Stanislav Kohut takes the victory in front of Ellen Berdova by 4 seconds. Leo Lishakatishvili another 5 seconds back. Then Matthias Barvik and Nela Pozhnikova from Max Hruška, Oliver Wolf, Jakub Norochny, Melanie Janubova and Maja Żulevinska. So that is the end of the junior heats. They will obviously now get themselves prepared and ready for the finals, and they will be separated into 2 finals now for junior girl and junior boy. Next up in the mixed, it is the women's category that will finish off their program with these next 2 groups of heats. And it will be a very exciting challenge for them, I'm sure, as everybody wanting to finish off on a high note. That looks to me like Jakub Norochny just finishing things off, cruising on the board to come home. In fact, Norochny seems to have dropped back to the very tail of the field there at the very end. So a problem for Jakub Norochny, unfortunately, who then got overtaken in the closing stages by Oliver Wolf, Melanie Janubova and Maja Żulevinska. So Jakub Norochny, unfortunately, dropping back to 10th place. That's a great run so far then in the junior category, as all of the riders retreat back to the wet pit. So now it's going to be an exciting situation as the ladies category prepares to go racing for the first time today. They'll be separated into 2 groups. Here is the starting positions for heat number 4, Group A. And it's the reigning world champion, Eliska Matuskova, lining up in first position ahead of Emma Struchalova, Valentina Novotna and Kristina Hubkova, the new girl, Lola Markova and Elizabeta Fatova, from Adela Ostruchalova, Unjin Lee and Polina Karpova. So expect some intense racing now from the women's category very early doors. This is their 4th and final heat before they have to prepare for their finals a little bit later on. All of the contenders looking for a strong run. Now, there was a bit of a conversation last night at the gala dinner as to whether or not Unjin Lee was going to be racing this morning. She wants to. The team would rather she didn't. She's had all sorts of discomfort with her ribs since the start of the weekend, but she has braved the pain and pushed on through. She had a little bit of heat exhaustion yesterday. Not surprising, of course, because it's 44 degrees Celsius at the height of its powers. And it's also worth bearing in mind that she's in quite considerable physical pain, but she's braving it like a true adrenaline junkie gladiator, as she refers to herself. So hopefully she'll be out on the water, but if she isn't, we'll know why. Eliska Matuskova starting the race from pole position. There she is, the reigning world champion. An amazing talent, the first competitor to qualify for the World Games in Chengdu in August. She knew that all the way back in Macau in November. But Eliska Matuskova, 17 years of age for the Rocket Racing MP Sports team, the reigning world champion in the women's category, and definitely a force to be reckoned with again in 2025. Could well go for back-to-back World Championships. It's been a sensational run so far from Eliska Matuskova this weekend. Didn't get the perfect run in qualifying, but has definitely had the tenacity and the ability to charge her way back into supremacy. So a good run so far from Eliska Matuskova. And she's going to have a lot of hard work to keep the ladies behind her. I'm just going to count how many we've got. We've got 8. So that tells us everything we need to know. There would be 9, but it looks to me as though Eunjin Lee has not decided to take the start. She was very exhausted yesterday. And I have to say, for the safety of the riders, that has to take paramount concern above anything else. So I am not at all surprised. And we wish her all of our very best in terms of the recovery for Eunjin Lee, in the hope that she will be up to racing for round 2 of the championship in Turkey in June. So hand in the air for our pole sitter Eliska Matuskova, who's just controlling the pace. She'll drop her arm and then we'll go racing. So Polina Karpova just dropping back a little bit. She has to leave a little bit of space, even though Eunjin Lee is not there. She has to leave a little bit of space for where Eunjin Lee would have been. So the racers are there in position. Her arm comes down as we get ourselves ready for the start. They'll duck down on the boards when we get the command. And for the 4th and final time in Group A of the women's, we are racing. And it's a great start from 4th place for Kristina Hrbkova. Manages to pull level with Emma Struchalova as they get their run to the first turn. But it's the trajectory in the white water that slows the pace down. And so Eliska Matuskova has a great start. Emma Struchalova's not got a bad one either. Faitova and Novotna are going to be pushing hard as well as they work their way through the first couple of corners. And Eliska Matuskova is going to have a little bit of pressure here. Out of the slalom they go. So far for Matuskova, all going well indeed for the number 1. Number 2, no problems at all for Emma Struchalova. A couple of riders having to go out wide there through the white water to avoid dropping in. But so far, so good for Matuskova. She leads in comfortable position in the lead of the race. The 17-year-old, who is the reigning world champion, out in first position. Now, they've got a 7-lap race with 2 long laps to take. The first 2, no problem. Well, it looks as though the 3rd in the line is going to be the first to take the long lap. In fact, 3 of them are going to do it all at once here. And the first one to do so is going to be Valentina Novotna. So Valentina Novotna, 21 years of age, from Slovakia. My apologies, from the Czech Republic. She's part of the Jet Surf HK team. So Valentina Novotna working her way further forward. Deciding on the very first lap, I'm going to take the first of my 2 long laps. And that's when they basically take the wider trajectory and add an additional 40 seconds to their lap. Then they will rejoin the course. And then essentially they've got to do that twice. And every rider has to do it twice. It can be very interesting in the tactics as to when they choose to do that. Nothing tactical at the moment about Eliska Matuskova. Just pure confidence leading the way and having a very good race of it. But the conditions of the course will be brand new to the riders compared to yesterday. This is one of those few sports where the conditions are very different from 1 lap to 2 lap to 3 laps, as the sea is obviously unpredictable. It's not like a normal racetrack where you know the conditions are going to be the same pretty much every corner. Here, they could be very different when you meet them the next time around. Struchalova goes for the long lap. So too does Kristina Hrbkova. So too does Elizaveta Faitova. So they've all decided in unison there to take the long lap. Oh no, sorry, that's Lotta Markova, my apologies. Faitova had already taken the long lap. So Novotna, Faitova and Karpova had already all taken the long lap together, but this time it's Struchalova, Hrbkova and Markova that all go onto the long lap. So there is the number 5, Lotta Markova, 16 years of age, the rocket racing competitor. As we look back to the race leader once again, Eliska Matuskova just having a perfect run. Won the World Championship last year after an incredibly consistent season. Is the favourite to do it again in 2025. And of course, she'll also represent her nation as an individual competitor and for the Nations Cup alongside Luka Zahorsky in the World Games in August in Chengdu. There is Valentina Novotna. I think she's taken the long lap a 2nd time already, so she's clearly decided to just get both of her long laps out of the way, and then she can focus on the course. Perfectly allowed to do that. You can take the long lap whenever you wish to. The only rider that hasn't taken the long lap yet is Adela Ostrachalova, who has taken over the lead for the time being. There is Eliska Matuskova, who's also taken her long lap at the end of the third. So on lap 3, Eliska Matuskova takes her first long lap. There's Emma Strichalova, not too far away from her then. And that's Kristina Hebkova, one of the new riders in the women's category this year, having stepped out of the junior category last season. And the 15-year-old for Klima Race HK, definitely getting on with things very quickly indeed. There she is, Kristina Hebkova. Now, she'll go onto the main course itself. She doesn't take the long lap a second time yet. She's just following in the wake of Emma Strichalova. There is Emma Strichalova at the moment, 16 years of age, for Jet Surf Slovakia. Definitely a potential thorn in the side of Eliska Matuskova in 2025. She got faster and faster as the day went on yesterday. And for my money, Emma Strichalova's got a real potential to go for the World Championship this year. She's just got to keep her stride confident. She's got to make sure that she bags as many points as she can from these heats. But it's really good work so far from Emma Strichalova. Alongside her there in the slalom, that is the number 4, Kristina Hebkova, just trying to stay with Strichalova at the moment. But it's that confident stance of the 16-year-old from Slovakia who's got quite a bit of experience now in the women's class. Adela Ostrachalova enjoying clear water out in front, deciding not to go for the long lap until the 4th tour. So now Matuskova back in front, Strichalova second, Kristina Hebkova in third. I'm not sure where Adela Ostrachalova has ended up. I think she's only 4th position, so by staying out that little bit longer, she's actually gained herself some time here. But then I do believe that Markova, Novotna and Faitova have all pitted onto the long lap for the second time. So they've got a lot of time to make up. Emma Strichalova is on the long lap for the second time now as well. So for Emma Strichalova, it's all about pace and consistency now. There is Eliska Matuskova, finishing off on the top end of the course, now working her way through to the slalom. She gets her way through. This time she decides to go right. Again, it's free choice as to whether you go left or go right. So Emma Strichalova, having done both of her long laps now, just needs to focus on the pace of her journey around the course. For the last 2 laps, she can stay on the racing line. So she's rejoined in behind Adela Ostrachalova, but ahead of Lora Markova. So that's exactly where she needs to be. Currently 4th on the race route. But once Kristina Hebkova and Adela Ostrachalova make their second long lap, she's got a chance to move forward. And depending on how quick she can be on the course through the slaloms, she's also got a chance to close up on Eliska Matuskova. It all depends on what Matuskova does on the long lap. And of course, we've seen riders at the top of their game fall at the wrong moment. It's all just about where you manage to get the turns, where you manage to keep it together. And Emma Strichalova looking so confident at the moment. She's still got a bit of pressure there from Lora Markova, who's not far away from her. So Eliska Matuskova has not taken to the long lap this time. So her last long lap is going to be on the very last lap. And that's a fairly decent tactic for Eliska Matuskova. Just run the race that she chooses to run. So there is the safety island that basically commands the riders onto what lap they are on. Out of the slalom goes Eliska Matuskova through the left, and then the double right-hander that finishes off the lap. And there is the command on the side of the raft. 1 lap to go. The white flag in the air tells you that there's just 1 lap left. And Eliska Matuskova has got to take the long lap on this final lap to be legal, which she, of course, will do so. Through turn 3. Left of the yellow board to go right. Right of the red board to go, right of the red buoy to go left. As we watch Kristina Hebkova, who's now in 2nd position. She also, I believe, needs to take her second long lap on the very last lap. So she continues her journey, pushing in on the far side. Oh no, it looks like she has taken her second long lap. She's now going into the slalom. So Kristina Hebkova has already taken her second long lap then. So she will form up behind the likes of Emma Strichalova and Lora Markova, who's actually jumped Valentina Novotna. So good work from Lora Markova to move forward. Emma Strichalova's taken both of her long laps. Matuskova, I think, is on the long lap for the second time. Yep, there she is. She's rejoined the course now on the far side. So having taken the long lap, now it is time for Eliska Matuskova to finish this course off in a fairly rhythmic position. Struchalova has done the best she can to close up, but Matuskova is just so confident on these boards. She just doesn't have any concerns. There is Struchalova having a great duel with Laura Markova for second position. Those two are having a great run to the line. We'll try and pick that up once Eliska Matuskova has crossed the line to finish the race. But Matuskova is having a good run of it. Now, there is Kristina Hubkova, who's had a bit of a tricky race, actually, has now dropped back behind Elizaveta Faitova. Meanwhile, Polina Karpova has had some problems out on the course, but there is the victory. Eliska Matuskova takes the win in heat number 4, Group A. And Emma Struchalova is going to be the one who manages to get home in second place. She gets the job done in front of a resurgent Laura Markova. Great performances there. So Emma Struchalova managing to cross the line ahead of a renewed vigour in Laura Markova. Valentina Novotná will come through in front of Adela Ostruchalova, with a difficult race there for Elizaveta Faitova and Kristina Hubkova. They both ended up losing more time than they would have liked to. And so Polina Karpova is, I think, out of the race already, having only completed 4 of the laps up to this point. She actually completed a 3rd long lap. It's very difficult to keep track of how many long laps you've taken when you're hot out there on the course at 40 degrees Celsius. So an excellent display from Eliska Matuskova. She will start the women's final later from pole position. And don't forget, only the top 12 riders complete the lineup for the finals. So it's the top 12 riders at the end of the heats that make their way into the finals. So I think it's fair to assess the situation for the contenders. And with Eunjin Lee choosing not to start the 4th heat, that means she has not qualified for the final. Only the top 12 riders will do so. So Eliska Matuskova puts herself up to the front end of the field and into the pole position for their final later on. Eliska Matuskova takes the win in front of Emma Struchalova and Laura Markova, just over a second and a half between the two of them. Valentina Novotná held off the charge of Adela Ostruchalova, her best result in P5. Elizaveta Faitova in front of Kristina Hubkova, and then the retirement, sadly, for Polina Karpova. I say retirement, she actually completed 5 of the 7 laps, so she is registered as a finisher. I do apologise to Polina Karpova. That's the women's Group A heat for heat number 4. Now they will send another bunch of competitors out onto the circuit for heat 4, Group B. And it's another very impressive collection of athletes. Aneta Strukalova, the vice world champion, lining up in pole position for this one ahead of Mariana Navarova, the original pole position qualifier, and the new sensation in the women's category, Sara Zubarova, straight out of the junior girl last year, starting 3rd for this one. Linda Lukscheider is P4 from Rosalia Janora, Barbara Kororova, Natalie Kashtakova, then Yue Nijin of China, and Dinara Ibrahimova finishing off the field. So down in the dry pit, the juniors are recovering after their very intense heat there. So too, to the right of your picture, is Lorenzo Tanda, who's getting himself ready for the stock category a little bit later on. Yes, Lorenzo, you have well and truly been spotted there in the dry pit, relaxing. Too right as well. In this heat, you want to keep as cool as humanly possible. And full credit, I have to say, in these swelteringly hot conditions to the officials who are keeping an eye on the situation, and a massive well done to the broadcasts around the course in their various posts who are trying desperately to keep cool in these tricky situations and bring you all the action as it happens. I do not envy them, but fair play to them. They are made of stern steel and their claws are sharp to give us the amazing footage that you've got here on the beach at Fujairah. So the second heat is going to be an interesting one. Aneta Strukalova has not looked perfect throughout this week, has had to recover to get herself up to the sharp end. And actually, Mariana Navarova was fantastic in qualifying. I spoke to her this morning. She's actually had some difficulties with her back and her legs, as a lot of intensity is put into the back and the leg muscles in these races. And we actually saw during Heat 3 yesterday, Mariana Navarova actually struggling to reposition her back into the correct position so that she could get the most out of it. So it is a very physical sport, this. Don't forget that these are 20 kilogram boards, 100cc engines channeling out 15 brake horsepower. So these boards will do a top speed of 70 kilometers an hour, but they won't reach that on this particular course because the waves are choppy, the wind is high, so they'll still be pushing around 50, maybe 55 kilometers an hour top speed on these boards. That is fast. If you hit the water at the wrong angle at that speed, you are losing teeth. It is that simple. So the hand goes up in the air for Aneta Shtukalova. She controls the pace. When her hand goes down, that means that she's ready for the start. And all 9 of the competitors are there ready to go. So let's see if we are going to have an intriguing run down to the first corner. Shtukalova's hand goes down. We are ready for the start. They now wait for the command, and off we go. And Aneta Shtukalova gets a brilliant start. No worries at all. Going to be a tricky one for second place, though, because that looks like a very feisty Sara Zubarova trying to get level and around the outside of Mariana Navratilova, who holds the position. She runs out wide, jerks out. Sara Zubarova decides to go right compared to the left option. So as the riders work their way through the slalom, this is going to be intriguing to see who gets out first. An absolutely rapid Mariana Navratilova might even be able to get out in front. There's a little bit of a wobble there, I'm afraid, for the 5 of Rosalia Janora, the 15-year-old Polish rider. Manages to pick it up together, but it is going to be tricky and physical when they get back out onto the turf. So they continue on their way further forward. And the number 1 is not the leader. Mariana Navratilova has dug deep and pushed out ahead of Aneta Shtukalova. So Mariana Navratilova has found something strong in the slalom and has taken the lead. So Aneta Shtukalova has no option. She's got to go for the long lap to try and leapfrog past Mariana Navratilova. But great work from Navratilova to launch into the lead of this race. The 18-year-old for CMS Racing, so confident in qualifying, had a tricky day yesterday, but now, this morning, she has had her Weetabix, she has done the job, and she is into the lead. So now it's up to this lady, the Vice World Champion, Aneta Shtukalova, to try and work her way back into the lead. The best way to do that was through the slalom and out through to the long lap, I should say, and then back out onto the course. So she's now there, but there is the lady who has charged through to the lead. Oh, careful, Mariana. Really is pushing herself here through the slalom. She did tell me that she's been having issues with her leg muscles and her back, but she really wants to come back for a victory today. She wants to put herself back into the form that she was in on Friday to get the pole position. So chasing her down is the new sensation of the women's category, Sara Zubarova. She got the overall pole position in qualifying in her group. So she was the second quickest rider of any of the women competitors for the Motoshop Zubor, the family team. But this is her first weekend in the women's category, having been in Junior Girl last season, fighting for the title. So this is incredibly impressive from Sara Zubarova to have done what she has done over the last 24 hours or so. Absolutely incredible, the kind of pace that she's been able to show. She wasn't even the champion in last year's Junior Girl category. She missed out on the title by 24 points to Kristina Hubkova. So Zubarova's definitely done her homework over the winter and is now so much more full of confidence. Now Mariana Navratilova looks like she's unlocking the kind of pace we saw in Friday. This is much more confident stance from Mariana Navratilova. She goes into the slalom, still chased down by Zubarova. You're going to see so much from Sara Zubarova in 2025. She's really turned the corner in her development. As through the starting gate once again. That's Mariana Navratilova and Sara Zubarova just continuing that pace up front, deciding to leave their long laps for later. Already Shtukalova, Kolarova and Yue have decided to put their long laps down. So a really exciting situation for the contenders. So now they've just got to keep on pushing on and do a good job. So now the competitors will continue to make good work of things on the far side. But this is all about Mariana Navratilova having the confidence to push with her own intensity to get clear of Aneta Shtukalova. But Shtukalova's got so much experience. And she's going to be, oh no, Mariana Navratilova pushes too far. Oh, that's such an unfortunate moment for Navratilova, leading the race with so much confidence. And unfortunately on this occasion, she just finds a little bit too much in the waves. And so Mariana Navratilova falls from the lead. We did say that it can happen at any time. Doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter how experienced you are. All it takes is that one wrong trajectory, that one wrong angle. And unfortunately, Mariana Navratilova gets caught out Such an unfortunate moment for the 18-year-old. She's such an incredible rider, but the waves have completely changed over the last 48 hours. So it's going to be Sara Zubarova that picks up the pieces, but this lady, Aneta Shtukalova, has now been given license to go and take the victory away. She's got both of her long laps out of the way, I think. So Aneta Shtukalova has decided to just focus on her objectives. There is Mariana Navratilova trying to get back to what she was at before. But that's the problem. Once you fall once, the psychology of a rider's head is that you've just got to try and go even faster in order to try and maintain it. She's gone on to the long lap. But the problem is when you make one mistake, you then just try and go faster and faster to make up the time you've lost. And that breeds more mistakes. So she's got to chill. She's got to get herself back in the game. Meanwhile, Aneta Shtukalova is just doing what she needs to do, just winding herself in through to the slalom. And there is Mariana Navratilova just behind her now as well. So that's the amount of time lost by Navratilova. Such an unfortunate moment for her. But that's racing. They all know just how tricky it can be at the best of times. So the timing screen has not updated recently. It still believes that Navratilova is leading the race, but that is only because she came through having not taken the long lap on the last tour. So now it will correct herself because not only has she taken the long lap, but she's also had a slip up. So there is Mariana Navratilova trying to get back into the form that she was in before the slip up. But leading the way now is Aneta Shtukalova in front of Sara Zubarova. And as a result of her performance so far, Aneta Shtukalova has been able to take the long lap before Zubarova. It's looking so good for the Vice World Champion as Mariana Navratilova tries to fight her way back into contention. She's currently in 4th place behind Barbara Kolarova. So that's the kind of time that she's lost. 2 positions essentially, well, 3 if you count Aneta Shtukalova. But I would argue that the pace that Shtukalova has shown so far this week, it would have been hard for Navratilova to maintain that. So Shtukalova still having just such a smooth run here. I'll tell you who's really struggling in the women's category in this particular race is the ever-consistent Linda Lukscheider. It's not gone well for her so far. Currently down in 6th position. I wonder if she's elected to take the long lap twice early doors. Yes, in fact, she has done that. But even having said that, she's currently behind Yue Nijin, the Chinese racer. So I think Linda Lukscheider is currently dealing with some problems out there, as too is the teenager Rosalia Yanora, who has stepped out of the junior girl category last year and risen up into the women's. So I would suspect that there's a few problems out there. Aneta Shtukalova takes the long lap, gives the lead over to Sara Zubarova, who will only lead for 1 lap because she has also got to take the long lap. As we watch Mariana Navratilova trying her best to come back at it. Interesting tactics then as the number 2 rider there, the number 1 rider, I should say, Aneta Shtukalova, is currently chasing down another rider. Now, who is that in front of her? I wonder if is that Natalie Kashlikova? She's following in the wake, but she should be able to get back onto the course in front of Sara Zubarova. The final long lap is being taken there as that's Mariana Navratilova going across the line to start her final tour. But she has risen back up the order as a result of the second long lap. So Aneta Shtukalova will retake the lead because Zubarova, Navratilova and Natalie Kashlikova are all going to take their final long laps. In fact, it was Kashlikova that Shtukalova was trying desperately not to trip over. They've all taken the long lap, and that's going to put Aneta Shtukalova back into the lead of the race, I'm sure. Look back, there is Sara Zubarova. She tried her best to catch her, but Aneta Shtukalova is so strong in her best rhythm. She'll work her way out of the slalom for the last time. And just as we saw from Eliska Matuskova, the reigning world champion, the vice world champion, Aneta Shtukalova is still on good form herself. And so she will come through to finish off in the final couple of points of the reckoning. And Aneta Shtukalova comes through to take the victory in front of the ever-impressive Sara Zubarova. No worries at all then as the finishers come through. Aneta Shtukalova is your victor. Sara Zubarova in 2nd place. I think it's going to be Navratilova who manages to come back in fine style to grab that 3rd position, unless Barbara Kolarova has had a cleaner run on the final lap. We'll get the update very shortly indeed. But certainly Aneta Shtukalova hanging on in front of Sara Zubarova. And Kolarova did come through in that 3rd position slot. Full credit to Sara Zubarova. She was only 4.5 seconds back from Aneta Stukalova after 7 laps. That is very good work indeed. So Navarova in P4, 5th for UIM. That's her best race of the week. And then Linda Luxscheider and Rosalia Janora, with Natalie Kashnikova having to settle for 8th position on this occasion. And Dinara Ibragimova down at the back. So there is the women's heat 4 Group B provisional result. Aneta Stukalova only 4.5 ahead of Sara Zubarova. That is one talented rider. Barbara Kolarova and Mariana Navarova struggling after her fall down to 4th place. UIM is 5th. Best result for her this week so far from Linda Luxscheider and Rosalia Janora. And then Natalie Kashnikova struggles to 8th place with Dinara Ibragimova down in 9th. So a very tricky pair of races then in the women's category. They certainly gave us plenty to talk about. Now we go from the women's class to the masters class. And we've got the senior competitors in the field now. All running stock boards, of course, but the main point to take into this is that all of the riders are over the age of 35. Oh, no, sorry, it's the stock category first. My apologies. The masters will come later. So it's the stock category that is out on the course now. And that is Anthony Squire and Hassan Boabas that will run on the front of the grid. Adam Ficek and Adam Janosek from Jan Travnicek and Jan Matoshka. Ismail Kaptanoglu, Abdullah Al-Blushi, and then the rookie riders, David Krichka, Tanton Huangranke, and Adam Kolar. So with all of the contenders getting themselves ready then, they've shuffled the order for today's running in the 4th heat. And that just gives a couple of competitors a chance to work away a little bit more often. So now we're going to see how things continue to move forward. And it'll be an interesting one to see how things continue. But we're definitely going to see another resurgent form race in the stock category as the riders venture out onto the course. The officials are just getting themselves into position now as well with the 2 jet skis. So a fascinating scenario then for the contenders, with the stocks moving up ahead of the elites and the masters dropping after the elites now. But Anthony Squire, the American rider, is going to be one to watch out for in this one. He's been a very strong competitor over the course of the week. Took 2 wins out of 3 earlier on in the competition. So good to see Anthony Squire, the young man from Winston-Salem in North Carolina, working his way further forward. So an interesting scenario then for the contenders. But the stock and the stock rookies on the Merlin Plus boards, they race together again until the afternoon session, when the stock rookies will have their own race compared to the stock contenders, who will have their own. And don't forget, only the top 12 riders managed to make it through to the final. So with 16 competitors in the stock category, 4 of them are going to be plumb out of luck. And so it's going to be an interesting one to see who manages to make it through to the final later on in the stock category. Certainly Anthony Squire is looking odds-on favourite to be pole position for it, although he has got a little bit of pressure from the man in the other group. That is Down Kim, the vice world champion in stock, the reigning world champion in master, the only rider who does 2 classes in one event. That really is quite an incredible amount of commitment from the Korean rider Down Kim. Had the pleasure of dining with him last night at the opening season gala dinner. Down Kim, a very charming man, 41 years of age, very competitive indeed as he continues his run. The riders should be focusing on getting ready, not waving to the drone. Love the fun and games that we have down here in MotoSurf. A lot of these racers are just racing because they love it. They have no ambitions to do anything particularly spectacular. They just want to race and have a huge laugh. There are those who have the ambition, who want to race and get victories, get world titles, get trophies, and get some incredible plaudits from this very interesting sport indeed. So it looks like the safety crew are just attending to a boy, just trying to replace one of them. I think it's the penultimate corner that there was a boy that was out of whack. And so as a result, they've had to reset that part of the course by swapping the boys over. And that's how it's done, folks. So if a boy fails, you send a technician out onto the course with the jet ski, and they swap it over, and then the course is ready to race again. And it's incredible the amount of work they do to do that, because it literally takes only about 80 seconds or so from leaving the shore to getting to the buoy to swapping it over and to returning back to its original position. That is incredible work. I think that should be a sport in and of itself. I'd commentate on that. So the contenders getting themselves ready then. The man with the arm in the air is Anthony Squire from Western Salem in North Carolina in the United States. A man who is on the brink of realizing his best season so far in 2025. He really has started this weekend in fantastic fashion. If he can continue this up through Turkey, through Italy, through Croatia, all the way to Macau, this could be Anthony Squire's year to really excel and shine. He would dearly love to be in that position to do so. He's going to be representing the United States in the World Games in August later this year. Very excited indeed for the prospect of getting that sorted. So now Anthony Squire will lead the field around. And it's going to be a very aggressive start from him out of the blocks. Hassan Bouabbas, the young man from Kuwait, is going to be hustling him down to the first couple of corners. We're going to see some really exciting competition now from these competitors. The stock category is one of the toughest in the entire world of MotoSurf. You take the board out of the box, you race it. That's simple. Nothing else is allowed to be changed. So that is a false start. So they'll go around again and they will form up into their row once more. So Anthony Squire and Hassan Bouabbas, two men who are really motivated to get this victory done. And especially now that last year's champion, Min Song Kim, has elected not to compete in the first round of the championship. I think he's got his focus purely on the World Games in Chengdu. So some riders have actually chosen this year to be a year where they'll focus on the World Games preparation rather than the World Championship. And they'll be focusing on their own individual nations championships as well, because there are plenty of competitions around the world in MotoSurf for all of the individual championships. There's a European crown, there's an Asian crown, and of course there are national championships as well. But this is the World Championship where all the best MotoSurf riders in the world gather together. Anthony Squire leading the stock and stock rookies around. That looks like a pretty perfect start to me as Hassan Bouabbas gets a little bit of airtime in his preparation. That's about as perfect a sight as you can expect to see in MotoSurf. And the drone pilot has captured it superbly. Now we wait for the moment. Anthony Squire's arm goes down. Are we going to go racing? We're going to charge forward to the first turn. Around to the outer perimeter of the buoy. It's gone too far, hasn't it? We very nearly tripped over a buoy there. So I think we're going to go around again. No, we are not. We're going to drop forward. And Hassan Bouabbas has actually got a better start than the pole sitter. So now they've got to go and run around the outer perimeter. Anthony Squire trying to hold the inside line. He's going to manage to get the trajectory and he'll tuck back in. An aggressive start from both Bouabbas and Anthony Squire. But Squire holds his nerve. And as they go into the slaloms for the first time, Anthony Squire sorts it out and manages to hold on to the lead. Hassan Bouabbas is giving chase, but that was dictatorial from Anthony Squire. He needed to hold his nerve there. Second place is going to be tricky to sort out as Hassan Bouabbas has already got pressure from the men behind. What a start, though, from Anthony Squire. He needed to be authoritarian, and that's exactly how he played it. Bouabbas is now second. He's going to have pressure from Adam Ficek and Adam Janusek on the first lap for sure. But Anthony Squire needed to show his hand and did so in that first turn to the slalom. So Ficek and Janusek are going to be chasing down Bouabbas, and the first man to go on to the long lap amongst the leaders. Try and figure out who that is from a distance. It's tricky to see. But that is the 3. That is Adam Ficek. So Adam Ficek has decided to go on to the long lap first. Big opportunities coming then for the riders in this particular category. And Ficek looks fairly confident. He was already very racy when he battled away there with Hassan Bouabbas. Dips down, careful. You do not want to go into the drink on the first lap. Even though you've taken the long lap, you've still got plenty of time to make up. Anthony Squire looking so smooth out there in the sharp end. This is exactly what he wanted to do, and he has done so in fantastic fashion. And it's a really exciting run. Out in the front end of the field, that is Adam Janusek, now moving into third position, chasing down Hassan Bouabbas. So now it's all going to be about the pace from the competitors around. Through to the S's then, and to the slalom. Anthony Squire really starting to pick up some speed now. On the long lap himself now, Anthony Squire. Wanting to get the long lap out of the way. He's got Hassan Bouabas right with him, so he looks over his shoulder. Oh, right, Bouabas came with me. Now, why is that? Is he trying to get under my skin? No chance. I'm not going to be shaken. So Anthony Squire returns back to the course. Bouabas has gone with him, and that's Adam Ficek right behind him as a result. So watching them come through, Hassan Bouabas has got a lot of pressure here from Adam Ficek. Looked as though we had Janusek, Kuchka, Wangongranke and Matoshka all taking the long lap at the same time there behind Anthony Squire. Only 6 laps of the course and 2 long laps to take. So it will be a tricky one to see how the contenders continue from this point forward. But there is Anthony Squire. Oh, nearly drops it in the slalom. Anthony Squire under so much pressure here. He's never had it so good, but that's when you start to make those errors. So Anthony Squire's got to be careful. Got to be aggressive, but he's also got to be very particular about which way he goes through each of these turns. Hassan Bouabas is still on him, that's fairly sure, but Adam Ficek is not far away either. One mistake, one dropped buoy, one trip up, and it's game over in a race this competitive. Squire, Bouabas, Ficek, Janusek, Matoshka. And we're still waiting to see what the rookie riders will do. Right, Squire's decided to shake it up. He's gone onto the long lap, and so too has Adam Ficek. So they both go to the long lap. Interestingly, the rookie contenders, David Kuchka and Danton Wangongranke, who both took victories yesterday, have elected to go further on. They've not gone onto the long lap just yet, so they're going to leave their long laps till later by the look of it. They've got to take 2 of them. Squire and Ficek have already taken their second long laps just after the half distance, so they can now focus on the course itself. And that's, again, really smart thinking from Anthony Squire, who's going to try and close up here on Jan Matoshka. So Anthony Squire may have a little bit of an issue here trying to get around Jan Matoshka. Timing is everything in this sport. If he gets held up by Matoshka, then Hassan Bouabas might just get a chance to close up on him. This is not easy now for Anthony Squire. Following in the white water of Jan Matoshka, this is going to slow him down a little bit. This could hand the advantage to the Kuwaiti Hassan Bouabas. A giant killing effort is now needed here from Anthony Squire. He's gone into the slalom, but he's gone a different way to Matoshka. That works out in his favor. Here's Hassan Bouabas going on to the long lap. So this is where we find out how much time Anthony Squire lost stuck behind Jan Matoshka. Can Bouabas pick up the pieces on the long lap? There's Squire going over the line. They're going to meet together at turn 3. So who's going to get out of the long lap first? Will it be Bouabas or will it be Anthony Squire? It's going to be close. And there is Anthony. Oh, no, that's Ficek. Ficek going parallel with Hassan Bouabas. And Bouabas just hangs on to second place. They weren't quite able to eclipse Anthony Squire. But that is how close it is now for the victory. There's Squire, there's Bouabas, there's Ficek. There's nothing in it. This is one of the closest races we have seen in the stock category this week. And Adam Ficek now has every opportunity here to take on Hassan Bouabas of Kuwait. They're going to run round to the far side and they will get to the slalom. Who's going to have the pace and the confidence in the slalom? Oh, big error from Adam Ficek. He gets a face full of boy, but he goes right as Bouabas goes left in the slalom. Has he got the pace and the confidence to overhaul Bouabas in the slalom? Anthony Squire still keeping it nice and tidy. For the moment, Bouabas has still got second, but Ficek is still prepared to attack. They've got one more lap to go as David Kuchka is leading this race, but he's got one more long lap to take. So these are the true leaders. Bouabas, Squire. Bouabas chasing down the American Anthony Squire, and there's Adam Ficek, who's really looking hungry in third place. This is so tricky for Bouabas and Ficek because they've got no choice now but to run in the white water of Anthony Squire, and Bouabas making a slight error there on the buoy. Keeps it upright. And down in the water. Who's that that's gone? So that's right in the path of the raceway. And that could cause an error. It's Ficek. It's Adam Ficek. So Ficek goes down in third. Well, that's him out of the battle for the victory then. So Anthony Squire still leads it, but Hassan Bouabas is still trying to catch him. They've now got just the slalom to go. And then the final 3 turns. Squire looks confident. Bouabas goes the other way. Push it, gentlemen. Come on, come on. Anthony Squire trying to keep it nice and level. Bouabas is still slightly behind. Squire comes out of the slalom first. No worries at all. 3 turns to go. And Anthony Squire has his hand in the air. Don't celebrate yet. All it takes is one mistake as Anthony Squire will hold on, and he does take the victory over Hassan Bouabas. My goodness me. That was one of the best races in the stock category we've seen this week. And Anthony Squire feels the euphoria of the occasion. That was so tough to stay measured in front of Bouabas and Fujairah. They were throwing everything at him, but he would not be shaken. Anthony Squire has come of age. Poor Hassan Bouabas, frustration in second place. I had him. I nearly had him. And you could see the weight of the frustration on Hassan Bouabas as he falls off the board into the ocean. I really thought I had him there. I could have had that. But Anthony Squire was not going to crumble under the strain. Fantastic racing. Anthony Squire just hangs on from Hassan Bouabas. Adam Janusek picks up third after the fall from Adam Fujairah. David Kuchka gets the rookie victory in 5th overall from Jan Travnicek, Adam Kolar, Danton Huangogranke, and Jan Matoshka, who finishes in front of Ismail Kaptanoglu and Abdullah Al-Blouchi. So that is the stock heat for Group A. Group B will be after this. But Anthony Squire throws his hat into the ring as the contender for the top spot. It's been a long time since an American has been at the sharp end of the stock category, and a great chance for Anthony Squire. So now we get ourselves ready for the same category. It's the stock race, but it's Group B and another group of contenders. And of course, they're all trying to get themselves into the final. 16 riders in stock trying to get into the stock final with only 12 places available. All of the stock rookies will get there because there's only 7 of them. But it's Down Kim, back to pole position, alongside Damian Kadlec, Zhang Maozhu of China, the Swede Hannes Hultberg, and then Miroslav Kurbs from Tahi Han, Mohamed Al-Tamimi, Suchi Leong, and then the 4 rookies in this particular race, Fares Ramadan, Mike Michailidis, Lorenzo Tanda, and the Turkish rider Ender Jorgenschila. 6 laps once again, 2 long laps. The 4th heat for Group B. And now the big question is a very simple one. Can anybody crack Down Kim? Down Kim has only made 1 mistake all week, realistically. And that was in the Masters first race when he had that problem. Fell off the board twice and ended up having to call it. He's won both of his Masters heats since then. He's won every stock heat. So Down Kim, just relentlessly impressive. The 41-year-old from South Korea. He's in the form of his life. He is the Fernando Alonso of MotoSurf, if you like. He just does not age. I bet there's a painting in his attic that keeps changing because this man is just euphorically good. But it's all going to come down to his opponents to see if they can get one over on him here in Fujairah. Fantastic city this as well. My first time to Fujairah. 120,000 residents live here. May not be as big a metropolis as the likes of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and certainly not necessarily a staple on the minds of everybody globally, but this is a fantastic area. The mosque that is here is the 2nd biggest in the United Arab Emirates. It can be seen from pretty much any decent high-level building in the entirety of Fujairah, almost like the Eiffel Tower in Paris then, from that perspective. And the contenders here have really enjoyed proper, authentic Arabian cuisine, fantastic hospitality, and amazing activity as well. There's all sorts of great things to do here in Fujairah. Mountain climbing, bullfighting, and of course, water sports. Plenty of it here on the East Coast. We had competitors rowing alongside the course yesterday. Fortunately, they didn't intrude. But the Fujairah Marine Club has been hosting many events in many different disciplines of water sports since 1999. So 26 years of incredible sporting discipline in the United Arab Emirates. And a fantastic event, this one. And there is a real passion and there's a real desire to grow the sport of MotoSurf in the United Arab Emirates, not just from the Union Internationale Motonautique that governs the sport, but also the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad Al Sharki, who is the Crown Prince of Fujairah. There is a real passion and a real desire to get this sport in fantastic fashion. So it's really exciting to see how everybody is going to get underway here with the stock categories going in for a strong position for all of the contenders. So we're getting ourselves ready for the start. And we are going to get ourselves in position for all of the contenders up at the sharp end of the field. But we're going to have a really great start here from Down Kim. Wants to get himself into position. Now they've got to have to call this one a false start, I'm afraid. Not quite formed up. And this was talked about quite at length on the riders' briefing on Friday. They made it very clear there's a real stringency to make sure that everything is even and fair. They've got to make sure that the rear of the board is parallel to the front of the board of the rider adjacent to them. And if there's too big a gap, too many times in the row, they will just throw a false start to it and they've got to form up again. We had a real difficulty yesterday, actually, in the final race of the stock category at the very end of the day. They had about 3 false starts. And interestingly enough, it was Down Kim who was pole position for that one. Now, that is not to suggest that it was Down Kim that caused the issue, but it's just an ironic set of coincidences that it's the race that he's on pole position for that we struggle to get started. But there's a number of factors that come into the start. It's not just one person. He has the responsibility, of course, in pole position to monitor and control the pace of the field, but the responsibility is on the other riders to make sure they're in the correct position. They've done it several times yesterday. They know what position they're in because the number of the shorts that they're wearing tells them what position they're in, up from 1 through 9, and then they've got a letter if they are 10, 11 and 12, so A, B and C. And the reason they do that is because it's easier to denote a letter from a distance than it is to denote double digits. So they've obviously decided that that's the way to go through. And I have to say, it makes my job very easy indeed by comparison to what it would be. So I'm very pleased about it. Down Kim, getting himself ready from the pole position. Let's see if he can make a good start of it straight out of the blocks. He's going to have a tough mission to try and fend off from the hard-charging Damian Kadlec, who looks really motivated today, as does the Chinese racer Zhang Maozhu. They pass the boy on the far side. We wait for the command. They will dip down and then they will charge for the first boy, which is on the entrance to the slalom on the outer perimeter. Are we racing? No, we're not. And that's the second time in a row. And again, the false starts are in the same race that is held in pole position by Down Kim. Now, I don't know what the reason is for the lack of fluidity here, but for some reason, yet again, it's a false start. We've got Down Kim, Dominic Kadlec, Zhang Maozhu, Hannes Hultberg, Miroslav Kurbs, Tahi Han, Mohamed Al-Tamimi, Su Chi-Leong, and then the rookie riders, Faris Ramadan, Mike Michailidis, Lorenzo Tanda, and Endo Jorgen Schiele. I couldn't put my finger on whatever particular element it is that's causing us these repetitive false starts, but we're certainly getting yet another one in there. So those last couple of riders that are trying to find their position on the starting grid for the final. And don't forget, of course, that there are going to be 4 riders in the stock category that will be knocked out of the competition after this race, because it's only the top 12 competitors in the individual categories that will get through. So in the women's category, it's only the top 12 that make it, also in the Masters and also in the stock. Across the juniors, across the stock rookies, and across the elite, there are enough competitors that everyone will get a place in the final. But the elimination for the last time is about to happen here in the stock category, as that is the number 6 rider, Tahi Han of South Korea, just getting himself back into his original position. Everyone's got to form up. Now, pace it. Just be confident, but just be calm. There's no point charging forward until you're ready to do so. Just keep yourself in the line. Measure your pace. These riders have done it several times before this week. Looks pretty good to me, but they've got to make sure that they keep it nice and even. They've got to concentrate. One rider just out of position there. That is the 8, I think. That is Su Chi-Leong. Manages to get himself back into position, the Macanese rider. They pass the boy that measures the start. They'll get the command, and then they'll be able to go racing. We'll wait for the charge to go forward. Now we're going racing. That's more like it. And it's a fantastic start of the front from Damian Kadlec. He's going to draw level with Down Kim, but can he overhaul him round the outside? That's going to be the tricky nature of this race now. So far, so good for Down Kim, though. Kadlec can't overhaul him. So as they work their way through to the slalom, everybody keeping it nice and measured, but they're going to have a really tough rush now to try and keep themselves in the mix. So out in first position, no worries at all for Down Kim as he holds the line as he works his way through. Second position, it's going to be a tough one now between Damien Kadlec and Zhang Maozhu. The Swedish rider Hannes Hultberg, who's been getting quicker and quicker as the race weekend goes on, now finds himself in a very competitive position indeed. But as the riders work their way through to turn 3, up towards 4, now they'll make the decision about the long lap. And the leader goes through, but I tell you what, Damien Kadlec is looking competitive already. He decides to take the long lap, as does Faraz Ramadan. So Damien Kadlec in front of Faraz Ramadan, they take the long lap together. Good start and an aggressive stance in this race already then, as Down Kim has taken an early lead in this race. No major concerns for him at the moment. But Damien Kadlec decides, right, if I can't get him on the start, I'll get him on the long lap. So he's got a little bit of time to make up. Now, who's that having an issue? That looked to me like Ender Jorgen Schiele, I think. So he's obviously had a fall on the start initially, I think, and then obviously had to sort of limp back to get back up to speed again, and then he's taken the long lap. Out in front, though, Down Kim, number 1, looking very confident indeed as he runs clear into the lead. There is the 3. That is Zhang Maozhu. So Zhang Maozhu having a very steady race of it now, following in the white water of Down Kim. Returning back to the course, that's Damien Kadlec. Good performance so far from him. Be careful, he got a complete board full of water there. Didn't get the trajectory right. He was very lucky to stay upright on the board then, because I'm afraid to say he took the turn a little bit too deep, and as a result the board went under the water there. He managed to stay upright, but that's cost him a good 3 or 4 seconds. So a big issue there for Damien Kadlec. That's going to be hard to come back from. He gets parallel, and that is how close he was able to run. Oh, and that's an issue for one of the Rocket Racing competitors. That is Jorgen Schiele. So Ender Jorgen Schiele. Right, back onto the long lap then for the number 2, Damien Kadlec. He almost managed to get past Down Kim, but he couldn't quite make it. Now, if Damien Kadlec had not had that moment where the board went under the water, he would be leading this race, because that cost him a couple of seconds, and that would have been his lead. So he's now got to try and bounce back from that. He was clearly very quick indeed on the long lap. So now he's got to do it again to beat this man, Down Kim. There is the hard-charging Tae-hee Han of South Korea, making a very good effort of things, but a really exciting situation. A very tough charge for it. Now, Tae-hee Han is going to take the long lap there on the far side of the course. You know that, because when they come through turn 4, they put their hand in the air to warn the other riders, I'm going straight on. So a bit of a challenge as Down Kim works his way through the chicane at the beginning of the lap. He's still got pressure, by the way, from Zhang Maozhu. Or has he? Because I think Zhang Maozhu has actually carried on the lap. He hasn't actually taken a long lap yet. No, he hasn't. So Zhang Maozhu takes over the lead of the race for the time being. There is Down Kim. What's he going to do in terms of the long lap? Well, he's not taking it just yet for the second time. Meanwhile, Damien Kadlec has taken the long lap for the second time, and that puts him down in 7th for the moment. And no, actually, it puts him even further back than that. It puts him down to 9th position behind Mike Michailidis. But let's not forget that Damien Kadlec is the first rider to take the long lap twice. This man, Down Kim, who he's trying to catch, has taken the long lap once, but he needs to take it a second time before we really get to see where Kadlec is going to be in relation to Down Kim. Now, Down Kim's gone. Down Kim's in trouble! Down Kim's gone into the water! That completely changes the face of the stock category. Down Kim was looking so good for the victory in this class, and now the drop has put him down and whack. Anthony Squire must be grinning from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat on the shoreline. Down Kim, big mistake for the Korean. Now, whether that was a problem with him or whether that was a problem with the board, it doesn't matter. It's thrown him out of the contention for the victory in this race. And Down Kim has now got to recover. There's the Swede, Hannes Hultberg. He can benefit from this as well. He can put himself back into the top 3 if he gets an opportunity. And there is Damian Kadlec, who will be beaming from ear to ear if he figures out that Down Kim has got into the water. The thing is, of course, they're on different parts of the racetrack to each other, so they don't necessarily know that that's what's happened. So Down Kim manages to get past, sorry, that is Damian Kadlec, I should say, getting past Su Chi Leong, who gets well out of the way and doesn't cause an issue there for Damian Kadlec. But it's not over. Even though Down Kim has had a fall, there's still plenty of opportunities for the other riders to have issues as well. There is Zhang Maozhu, who still leads this race. He's finally taken his first long lap. So he is the latest rider to do it, along with Fares Ramadan, who is the leader in the rookie category at the moment, trying to stay well ahead of Mike Michailidis and Lorenzo Tanda. And this is tricky stuff now. As around the far side of the course goes the number 2. That is Damian Kadlec. I think there was a rider pulling off to the side there, and Kadlec is having a look at it to try and see what's going on. So there is the 3. That is Zhang Maozhu, the Chinese rider. And down in the water again. We've got another rider down. Now, who is it this time? That doesn't... I'm trying to make out which rider it is. The board is upside down, unfortunately, so I can't figure out. No, it is the right way up, but my apologies. But the rider in question hasn't recovered. Don't tell me it's Down Kim a second time as he tries to get back into speed position. No, that is the 8. So that is a rather unfortunate incident there for Su Chi Leong, the Macau racer. So Su Chi Leong having an incident there in the slalom. So tricky. The waves are so choppy compared to what they were. As Damian Kadlec, is he on the long lap a 3rd time? Well, that is fascinating. Damian Kadlec, I thought he'd already taken the long lap twice. He has. And yet he's taken it a 3rd time. What's going on for Kadlec? Has he miscounted? Well, this is baffling. They've only got a 6th lap race. Kadlec had already taken the long lap twice, and he's done it again. So a very strange situation there for Kadlec. I'm fairly sure that he has taken the long lap a 3rd time. Now, that could hand the victory to the Chinese racer, Zhang Maozhu. Kadlec is struggling here. Yeah, Kadlec has got a problem. Kadlec is cruising. And this is great news for the Chinese racer, Zhang Maozhu, who's got his hand in the air. The checkered flag goes his way. And Zhang Maozhu, I think, is going to have this. So Kadlec has had an issue somewhere along the line. And Zhang Maozhu comes through for the victory. He can't believe his luck. The Chinese rider has got it done. Both Down Kim and Damian Kadlec hit trouble. Fares Ramadan comes through for 2nd position to win the rookie race. But unbelievably, Damian Kadlec and Down Kim have had problems. Now, Kadlec, I can't believe he's miscounted. So Damian Kadlec had the victory pretty much on his own there. Down Kim comes through to finish up in... Well, Down Kim did not finish the race, apparently, so... Well, he certainly hasn't finished yet if he hasn't finished, but, well, I'm in a state of confusion here. Kadlec has come across the line in 6th position, having taken 3 long laps. So Kadlec miscounted. I cannot believe it. What a dramatic way for this race to conclude in the stock category, because Kadlec has definitely taken the long lap 3 times. He's only supposed to take it twice. So with Down Kim not completing the finish of the course, and Damian Kadlec taking the long lap 3 times, it hands the victory to the Chinese ace, Zhang Maozhu. What a dramatic race in Heat 4 Group B. So Zhang Maozhu gets the victory in front of the leading rookie, Fares Ramadan. That is an out-of-date timing screen, I should point out. Hannes Hultberg is actually in 3rd position, according to my timing screen, in front of Tahi Han and Lorenzo Tanda in a brilliant 5th place. Then Damian Kadlec. There you go, there's the updated timing screen. Mike Michailidis is 7th behind Kadlec. Miroslav Kurbs in 8th. Mohamed Al-Tamimi is 9th. Kim Down did not finish the race in 10th position, ahead of either Ender Jorgenschieler and Su Chi Leong. But look at Kadlec. Look at the long laps. Everybody's got 2, except for Kadlec, who's got 3. So Damian Kadlec did indeed take the long lap 3 times. What a mistake to make at this point in proceedings. You've got to try and figure out how many times he'd take the long lap, but Kadlec completely miscounted. So he basically gifted the victory to Zhang Maozhu. Well, there's a lot of pressure on the riders, and in these hot conditions, concentration is very tough to maintain. So it's a very tricky nature of racing this, and a very, very tough competition. But speaking of top competitions, now we go to the kings of the sport. It's time for the Grand Prix racing of MotoSurf, the elite category where the best racers in the world reside. And the top 3 riders in the world are in the top 3 positions of the grid. Lukas Jaworski, Alex Lukscheider, and Matthias Novotny. The chasing pack, Matej Kofisek and Oliver Nevada. Then Dominik Kadlic, Daniel Pravaznik, Jiri Wolf and Dennis Berda will be giving chase. A really tough race ahead of us now, because we've seen all 3 riders having a very solid run of it. But we're going to see some really tough action out on the course, as everybody is going to be putting in an excellent showcase here. But Jaworski, Lukscheider and Novotny, the 3 top riders in the world right now, and they'll be fighting for the gold medal in the World Games at Chengdu, of course. Only one of them will represent the Czech Republic in the Nations Cup at the World Games. That is going to be Lukas Jaworski, the 6 times world champion. But the elite race is always the one worth watching. And as you can see, the fans and the competitors from the other classes are filling up the seats in the dry pit. Even Mariana Navarrova wants to come and sit down and have a look at what's going on in the elite category, because this is the race that everybody wants to watch, the one that everyone signs up for. The elite category, the best racers in the world. Jaworski, Novotny and Lukscheider. This is such an incredible competition with these riders. They give us such entertainment value. And it really is wondrous to see the kind of battles that we get from them. Yesterday we had 2 victories out of 3 for Alex Lukscheider in the Apex Pilots team. Matthias Novotny, the reigning world champion, 16 years of age for rocket racing, giving us plenty to do. And this man, Lukas Jaworski, 6 times a world champion across the various categories of MotoSurf. There is very little stopping this man once he's got himself into the rhythm. But all 3 riders are finding it very competitive indeed. So the 4th and final heat of the 2025 UIM MotoSurf World Championship season opener in the elite category at the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates 2025 is going to give us a really good showdown. One of the best seats in the house, I think you'll find. Just out of the back of that particular speedboat, as long as they're closer to the closer to the key line there, that's going to be a better chance. So hand in the air for Lukas Jaworski to remind his fellow riders that they're going to go to battle. Nice little handshake there between 2 of the riders as they prepare for the action out on the course. That is the world champion, Matthias Novotny. Getting a little bit of a fist bump there, support from Dominik Kadlic. So it's really going to be an exciting one as the contenders give us plenty of excitement and drama. So really good racing from the contenders. So we're going to see how it all unfolds, and the racers playing out in good style. So a tricky natured battle will awaken us here in the competition. A fascinating battle of wits between the competitors. Some good racing all around. But now we're going to get to see what will really take place on this exciting part of the course. So the riders line up. Jaworski, Lukscheider and Novotny, the top 3 riders in the world, with Matej Kofisek threatening to get in amongst them. He certainly did yesterday. Now let's see if he can eclipse them. The elite riders gear themselves up ready. Only 8 of them are there. Dennis Berda seems to have sat out again, and off we go. And it's going to be tight round the far side. Lukscheider's got a better launch than Lukas Jaworski, but can he tighten the radius on the far side? Down to the slalom, and he's there. He's done it. Alex Lukscheider launches in front of Lukas Jaworski. They both go the same way in the slalom, so Jaworski not phased by the white water, left by Alex Lukscheider. So they work their way through, and Alex Lukscheider for the Apex Pilots draws first blood there in the duel. Excellent work for the contenders as they manage more off the turns. So Mateusz Novotny giving chase to his teammate, Lukasz Zahorski. 6 times a world champion, up against the reigning world champion, Mateusz Novotny. But Alex Luxscheider is ahead of both of them. Bring on the noise. This is going to be an amazing duel between these 3 riders. And who's going to go there first to the long lap? It's the leader. No, it's not. My apologies. It is Lukasz Zahorski who decides, right, well, you've got the lead then. So I'm going to go straight to the long lap. And I think Dominik Kadlec decided to do the same thing. So Lukasz Zahorski going straight to the long lap for the first time. No worries at all. And there is the rider who's gone with him. No, it's the 4. That's actually Matej Kozicek. So Kozicek is trying to overhaul the 3rd place man, Mateusz Novotny, by going with Lukasz Zahorski through the long lap on the first turn. So that's a very good decision from Matej Kozicek. But there is the leader, Alex Luxscheider. 2 wins out of 3 yesterday, looking absolutely perfect at the moment. He's in his zone, he's hitting his stride, and this is a man full of confidence and determination. So Alex Luxscheider for the Apex pilots looks very strong and secure at the moment. Novotny in 2nd, Oliver Nevada is 3rd, but that's because all 3 of the top 3 riders did not take their long lap on the first tour. They get 8 laps in the elite category. And this is the class, of course, where you can make changes to the board. The only thing you don't get the permission to change is the fuel tank and the fuel you use. Everything else, pretty much, every other component, you can change on these elite boards to try and maximize performance and get a little bit more out of them. And at the moment, Alex Luxscheider is finding it nice and commanding. Out through to the slalom once again. A really impressive display from Luxscheider as he zips and zooms his way through the slalom. Rides himself out, but careful, that's how tricky it is. See, the waves are choppier than they were yesterday, even again. Friday they were calm and serene, Saturday they picked up, and today the waves are even bigger than they were. So with the wind accelerating, it's definitely making things trickier for Alex Luxscheider and the competitors in the elite category. So it's not going to be a particularly easy one for the riders to settle in, because as the competition heats up and intensifies, we're going to get more and more tricky moments in the duel for victory. So Alex Luxscheider continuing to lead the race here. There is the number 3, that's Mateusz Novotny, the reigning world champion, 16 years of age. Very fast indeed for the Rocket Racing team. Put in such a good effort last year. I think Alex Luxscheider, though, having lost out on the World Championship last year, has been so determined to get back into it this season. He really wanted to put one over on Mateusz Novotny, and then suddenly realizing that he's also going to have competition from the legend that is Lukasz Zahorski, who is still in the form of his life, by the way. That's motivated Alex Luxscheider. Well, if I'm going to win the World Championship, I'd better do it in 2025 when I can beat the reigning champ and the legend of our sport. So Luxscheider really starting to put himself into the hunt. 2 wins out of 3 yesterday. There's Mateusz Novotny, a few seconds back, 4 laps to go, as we see there on the marker raft. Anybody going for the long lap on this occasion? At the moment, not. That's what the course looks like from above. Now you get to see someone at the bottom of your screen there. You can see someone taking the long lap, deviating away from the course and going on to the longer route, where you have to go around the outer perimeter of 4 black and red buoys. And that indicates where you are going through. So Alex Luxscheider is on the back straight. Just keeping himself through now. Tightens around the radius to go into the slalom. You can go right or left. He chooses the left mark. So Luxscheider has now put himself 5 laps clear of everybody without taking a single joker lap. He wants the rhythm of being out in front. There is Jiri Wolf. So Jiri Wolf currently locked in a battle with Daniel Pravaznik. But he's not quite been able to keep himself up there. This is a great effort, though, from Jiri Wolf. 51 years of age, the Autocentrum Vyskov rider. And fair play to Jiri Wolf. 51 years of age. Most other riders at that age would be considering racing in the Masters category. Not Jiri Wolf. He races elite because he can. Mateusz Novotny really struggling here, the world champion. As he runs in front of Matej Kozicek, he takes to the long lap for, I think, the first time. So Mateusz Novotny is not showing up as having taken a long lap yet. He's going to take both of his long laps towards the end. So there is Lukasz Zahorski, who has taken at least one long lap. I don't think he's taken both of them. But it really is interesting the tactics that these riders choose to employ as Mateusz Nowotny rejoins just behind Lukasz Zahorski. So that's him having taken his first long lap. So Nowotny has not gained the ground yet on Lukasz Zahorski that he wanted to. And he's only got 2 laps to try and thwart Lukasz Zahorski and try and make a better run of it. But Alex Lukscheider looks like he's got the pace to stay and remain out of the top end. So still the riders charge forward. The Rocket Racing pair of Lukasz Zahorski and Mateusz Nowotny, 6 times world champion against the reigning world champion. And the legend really is pushing on a pace. Now Alex Lukscheider takes to the long lap for the first time. 6 laps completed for Lukscheider. So he'll take his long laps on the 7th and 8th laps. So this is where Alex Lukscheider can now test himself. Push on a little bit more in terms of pace. And then bring himself back into the circuit at turn 3. Looks to his right just to make sure there's nobody there. And he manages to get in front of... Now, who is that? It's Lukasz Zahorski. So Lukasz Zahorski, who's only taken 1 long lap. Zahorski so nearly falls off the board there. That's how close they are, though, in the mix of the race. They've both taken 1 long lap each. So Zahorski was only a few lengths behind as they came off the turn. So Zahorski has now got to try and undercut him in the final 2 laps. It's not done yet for Alex Lukscheider. Lukscheider's got a lot of work if he's going to beat Lukasz Zahorski. So keep pushing, keep finding that energy through the slalom. He goes right. There is the man who's trying to catch him, Lukasz Zahorski, 6 times a world champion, 23 years of age from the Czech Republic. This man is not to be trifled with for the Rocket Racing team, but this man isn't either. The captains of their ships, ultimately. The white flag goes up. Alex Lukscheider's got to take the long lap. Lukasz Zahorski is pushing on him every single corner, though. Through they come. Alex Lukscheider trying to work his way forward. Now watch this. He will take to the long lap. Alex Lukscheider struggling a little bit actually off that turn, but now he's got to take the long lap. Here he goes. This is the moment when we find out who's going to win the 4th and final heat of the Elite. And this will give us a real indication as to who's going to be the man to beat in the final later on. There's Lukasz Zahorski coming through to cross the start gate. Has he done enough to eclipse him? They come through, look in the distance. There is Lukscheider. There's nothing in it, but Lukscheider's held on. Alex Lukscheider has been able to hang on here from Lukasz Zahorski for just that little bit longer. And Alex Lukscheider has put himself in a position. They've got a hand in the air because someone's gone down in the drink. Now, I can't quite see who that is, unfortunately, but we seem to have lost a rider into the waves. So that's definitely somebody in trouble. I wonder if it's Daniel Pravaznik, who certainly seems to have lucked out in terms of the time, but it's not going to affect the leaders as Alex Lukscheider has absolutely commanded this race. He's done a fantastic job working his way through the slalom then for the last time. And no matter what Lukasz Zahorski can throw at him, Alex Lukscheider has been the man to trouble him. And he is looking so confident. If he can maintain this throughout the season, then Lukscheider could get the championship of championships here out of the final turn. And Lukscheider makes it 3 wins out of 4. Excellent work from Alex Lukscheider. Supreme racing. An excellent performance indeed then from the 18-year-old from the Czech Republic for the Apex pilots. Masterclass from Alex Lukscheider. That is absolutely superlative. The rest of the riders come through to cross the start gate. So they cross the finishing gate, sorry, and Lukasz Zahorski, well, that's interesting. The body language tells me that Lukasz Zahorski is in some discomfort there. So Lukasz Zahorski was desperately trying to find a little bit more pace than Alex Lukscheider, and he didn't manage it. Frustration there, I think, for Lukasz Zahorski. And a little bit of back issues there as well, maybe, for the 23-year-old. So I just wonder if Lukasz Zahorski is going to have to pull something special out of the bag to go for the victory in the final. He looks under pressure, doesn't he? This man doesn't. Alex Lukscheider absolutely on it this week here in Fujairah. This is exactly how he wanted to start the season in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. The others finding it tricky. How do Rocket Racing now respond to the king of the Apex pilots. Fascinating stuff in the elite categories. Alex Lukscheider gets it 3 wins out of 4 ahead of Lukas Jaworski and Matthias Novotny. Matej Kozicek in 4th place in front of Oliver Nevada and Dominik Kadlic. Daniel Pravaznik coming home in 7th place ahead of Jiri Wolf, with Dennis Berda electing not to start. So big drama then in the elites as Lukscheider and Zahorsky's duel continues. Matthias Novotny is about 5.5 seconds adrift of the two of them, so he's got to find something ready for the last race of the day later. The finals will be intense, that is for sure. 2 races to go then before we end the morning session. And the first of those is going to be in the Masters category for Group A. We saw some great racing from the Masters yesterday. Down Kim is in recovery mode, having fallen down into the water in his first race. A similar situation to what we saw from him in his most recent stock race, if we're brutally honest. Well, the racing is going to be very exciting. Arkadiusz Janora will be in pole position for the first of the heats. First of the groups, I should say. It is group number 4, heat number 4, I should say, with Group A. Jiri Stovacek and Jano Vankersbilk, then Down Kim and Ivan Matuszek from Efe Gersoy, Radek Luchka, Vladimir Maslenikov, Pavel Matoshka and Ali Al-Hameri, the home favourite. And once more, it's worth reminding people that in the Masters category, it's only the top 12 riders out of the competition that will go through to the final. And in the Masters category, we've got some very impressive riders, 20 of them in total. So 8 of them are going to be eliminated by the end of this competition. And it's all going to come down to consistency now as to who's going to get the best of it. But a very tricky week, that is for sure, as everybody is trying to find that little bit of extra speed and pace now to try and get one more big push to get yourself a place in the top 12. Not easy to find that. But the Masters category, definitely very competitive indeed at this point of the course. And the racers will definitely want as much as they possibly can out of the remainder of this competition. Not easy to see who's going to get the best of it now. Check out these images of the Corniche Street on Fujairah's shoreline. Excellent to see the Masters getting themselves geared up and ready. This is a big moment as well for that particular man walking to the ocean. That is Arkadiusz Janora, the man who has been so strong over the course of this weekend so far. But then so too has the Belgian Jano Vankersbilk. He's had some good, some bad over this week. But then you can say that about pretty much everybody. It's been a race of 2 halves for a lot of the competitors in these categories. But we're in for a really exciting showcase to finish things off now, with the riders gearing themselves up ready for another exciting show. So let's see how the contenders will continue to push forward. Some good work from the riders to come in the Masters category. Looks as though there's an issue for one of the riders coming back to the shoreline, actually. That is the 4 of Down Kim. Down Kim has come back to the shore. Now that is dramatic. There he is walking back onto the pits. Down Kim is in trouble before the race even begins. Well, the man who's been the dominant force of the Masters last season, he had a problem in race 1. He's got another problem heading to race 4's starting line. So there's a chance here that Down Kim, the Korean, is not even going to take the start. So this is big drama then for the Korean as they rush around trying to figure out what's going on. But this is big drama down in the wet pit as Down Kim and his team at Rocket Racing try and figure out a solution before the race gets underway without him. And this could blow the weekend wide open. So for the likes of Arkadiusz Janora and Jiri Stovacek, along with the Belgian Jano Vankersbilk, this is perfect. No worries if Down Kim doesn't start the race for them. But for the Rocket Racing team, this is quite literally chaos. They are down in the wet pit, desperately trying to figure out what they do to get Down Kim back into this race. This is a nightmare for a rider. You're trying to prep yourself. You're trying to get yourself into the zone. You want to make sure everything is running to plan. You can see Down Kim still in his helmet there, surrounded by people trying to help. That's one of the things I do love about this community. If there's one guy in trouble, everyone helps out. Get that board back into the race. Come on, let's see what we can do to get him out. Even people from rival teams will work to get him out there. The spirit of competition is nowhere near as big as the spirit of the community. And so the Rocket Racing team, with assistance from other corners, trying to get Down Kim back into this race. But they're running out of time here. This is not going well at all for the Korean. He dropped it in race 1 and ended up failing to finish the race. Going into heat number 4, he's got even more problems. There he is, though. He's coming back out. So Down Kim racing to the shoreline. Let's hope they've got this sorted. So Down Kim should be able to join in. I think he's just going to have enough time to get himself back into this race. So he zooms back to the race course. My word, that is not the kind of stress you need going into a race. But Down Kim, the 41-year-old from South Korea, the reigning Masters champion, if anyone can cope with that kind of difficulty, it's him. So he charges back to the line. They're forming up, though. They're ready to start. So Down Kim has got to charge his way back. There he is in the distance, trying to get himself back into the line. And they're going to call a false start. There you go. A false start is called. That, right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the spirit of competition and the spirit of camaraderie. These riders don't want to win by default. They want to win by beating Down Kim and his A-game. So the false start is called to give Down Kim the chance to get back into this race. I love that. That's what this sport is all about. So Arcadia Zinora files them up again, and Down Kim gets a chance to run. Because of his fall in race 1 yesterday, though, he's got a very tough mission from 4th position. To go from 4th position to 1st is almost incredibly impossible. But he's still got an opportunity now. 4th position, Arcadia Zinora. In front of Yuri Stovacek, Jano Vankersbilk, and Down Kim. So we wait for the command to go. Yunora's arm goes down. They'll dip down in the boards when they're ready to charge forward. Are we going to get started with this race? We are indeed. And it's a good start from Yunora. Better start from Stovacek. Down's made an absolute flyer. Vankersbilk's pulled out of it to be able to run behind the 3. So that's certainly taken one man out of the pressure for Down Kim. But Vankersbilk comes back into it on the way through the hairpin. So Vankersbilk takes 1 step back to go 2 steps forward. Very smart thinking from the Belgian. And so Down Kim's mission is still just as tough as it was. Vankersbilk's going to emerge from the slalom in 3rd place here in front of Down Kim. Can he cut across the line? Yes, he can. But he dumps down. Oh, it's gone wrong for Vankersbilk. He just catches the white water at the wrong angle. So Vankersbilk goes down in the drink. So unfortunate for the Belgian for the 2nd time this week. Vankersbilk goes down. And that is devastating bad luck for the Belgian. He was in a race board to board there with Kim Down. And there is the Korean who's deciding to go for the long lap on this one. So Down Kim takes to the long lap. He's still having problems with that board, I think. Doesn't quite look comfortable with it yet. So can he charge his way back from 4th position to 1st in only 6 laps? It's going to be pretty tricky for any rider, never mind the reigning world champion. But at least there's one man who doesn't have to worry about taking on, and that is Jano Vankersbilk, dropping it out of the slalom on the 1st lap. Very tricky stuff. So now has Down Kim got what it takes to knuckle down and go after Yunora and Stovacek? So there is the long lap currently being displayed there in the foreground. You can see the white water that colors the shade of the course. And there is Arcadia Zinora going into the 2nd lap out in front. Going into the 3rd lap, I should say, actually, because Yunora's already completed the first 2 laps. So Yunora leads the way from Stovacek. He goes out through turn 4, and he's going to take the long lap. He puts his hand in the air. So he will take the long lap. So Arcadia Zinora, the favourite to win this one, currently out in front before he takes the long lap. 2 laps clear, looking comfortable. He's going to have some pressure from Yuri Stovacek, Ivan Matuszek, and Radek Luchka in the initial part of it. There is Down Kim, desperately trying to get back into contention after starting down in 4th position and almost not starting at all. But look how treacherous the waves are. This is so choppy compared to even yesterday when it was bigger than Friday. So now all the riders are finding it's incredibly difficult to be pacey. Arcadia Zinora, look how much water he's throwing up. This was nowhere near as big a problem yesterday. But with those waves being as choppy as they are, all of the riders are finding they're having tough going. This is where you've really got to get into your natural rhythm and your superficial flow here. Katia Junora trying to get well clear. There is Down Kim, who has also taken the long lap, so he's not that far away from Katia Junora, but he's really got to find some pace if he wants to beat the pole. I think second position might be as good as he can expect from this one, unless there's a mistake for Junora. Jiri Stovacek could be beatable though, of course, and Stovacek has kept himself out in front for the moment without going on to the long lap. He's got to do the opposite of Katia Junora. Well, Junora struggling to stay upright. The choppy nature of the waves means even a tight trajectory through turn 2 isn't impossible. He's got to go out wide. Fascinating stuff as the change in the conditions, the change in the behavior. Oh, down in the water. Now, who is that that's gone? Well, it's certainly not Down Kim. Trying to reconnect the throttle to the board, trying to figure out who that is from a distance. That is, unfortunately, our home favorite. That is Ali Al-Hameri. So Ali Al-Hameri from the Fujairah Marine Club, unfortunately, drops into the water, and I think that was his last chance, really, of getting himself into the competition for the finals. Only the top 12 riders on the points accumulated from the 4 heats get through, and that was Ali Al-Hameri's last chance, really, to make the final. And I'm afraid it's not going to go his way. Down Kim, really charging at these boys, face full of water on every turn, nearly. Whoa, Down Kim, really having to steady himself on the board there. These are the toughest conditions we've had all week. Not only is the sea really choppy and the waves getting bigger all the time, but let's not take out of the context that the wind is higher than it was yesterday and the temperatures are currently 43 degrees Celsius out there. This is a very tough mission for any rider. Katia Junora, what a save from Katia Junora! That was literally flirting with the gravitational pull to the water. My goodness me. Any other rider would have dropped that into the ocean. And Katia Junora saves it. My goodness. That is the biggest lean angle I have ever seen in MotoSurf without falling in the drink. And Katia Junora somehow finds superhuman strength of balance to stay on the board. That was mighty. Goodness gracious me. Katia Junora not leaving anything to chance. That was a superhuman effort to stay on the board. You don't get many chances like this to wipe the floor clean with the likes of Down Kim and Jano Vankersbilt. So Katia Junora, even gravity isn't going to stop. Oh, into the water. Now that is, trying to make out who that is from a distance. We'll find out once they start to climb back onto the board. Don't tell me that's Down Kim. No, it's not the right colour scheme, I don't think. So getting back onto the board. Is that Junora? It is! It's Katia Junora! He pushed himself too far in the end. So Katia Junora, the race leader, drops it into the water. I thought he was pushing it, but he finally goes over the limit. Poor Katia Junora. So that will hand the lead surely to Down Kim. He's managed to get in front of Jiri Stovacek, and now he's in front of Katia Junora. So Down Kim has come back from the brink. The man who nearly didn't start the race with problems on the shoreline. But there is the Korean, hand on his hip, absolutely dominating this race now. The problem for the start of this race is now a distant memory. He got ahead of Vankersbilt when he fell. He got ahead of Jiri Stovacek in the slaloms. And after the mistake of Katia Junora, it's Down Kim who has charged his way back from 4th on the start to the victory. That is almost impossible to conceive. But then Down Kim is the reigning Masters World Champion. He may be playing catch-up, but boy, is he doing it well. So there is the number 5. That is Ivan Matuszek, trying to get himself into the top 3. Still got a lot of work to do. And Down Kim, of course, leads this race, but he has got the long lap to complete, which he has done on this lap to make it 2 long laps. So he's not got as big a lead as he did have. But Down Kim will find his way through the slaloms. He's cruising. He doesn't want to put anything to chance. Down Kim looks at the gap he's got. He's just cruising to the line. This is incredible from Down Kim. The checkered flag goes for him. He can't believe how big a lead he's got. And Down Kim comes through. Wow, that was showmanship for Down Kim there. He was just cruising over the line. Bitter disappointment for Jiří Stovacek. He thought he could have down Kim. Crosses the line in second position. Arkadiusz Janota will come through for third. Bitter disappointment for the pole. And Jano Vankersbilk will have to cope with fourth position after his fall at the start. And down Kim, able to just surge forward from fourth place. He is just so good even in these tough conditions. Absolutely astonishing to charge his way back from fourth on the start line to take the victory. Almost unheard of in this sport. But down Kim is special, very special indeed. The reigning Masters World Champion. So he puts himself back into the fray with a very calm and collected race. Cruising over the line, making sure he didn't exert himself any more than he had to. So down Kim picks up the pieces after the problems for Vankersbilk and Janota. And he manages to storm past Stovacek on pure pace. And that is enough for the Korean to steal the victory away. Down Kim takes another victory from Jiří Stovacek. Arkadiusz Janota in third. He'll be bitterly disappointed ahead of Jano Vankersbilk, Efe Gorsoy and Ivan Matušek from Radek Lučka and Pavel Motoška, with Vladimir Maslenikov in front of Ali Al-Hemedi. So Arkadiusz Janota is denied a third victory out of 4. And so we go to the shoreline one final time before the afternoon session as the Masters Heat 4 Group B. And it'll be Poźnik and Poźnik on the front end of the field. David in front of Petr, then Jiří Blahár ahead of Petr Faltisek, Roman Liščák-Kratochvíl ahead of Stanislav Ganishkin, and then Murat Yoghanchila, Osman Cedereros, Andrei Atanasov, and Ng Chiohong. So with the Masters making their way to the course one final time, the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates is getting dangerously close to the finals now. There'll be a very smart flag parade of nations after this particular heat, which a lot of the riders are getting themselves ready for. But it's still been an absolutely sensational run for all of the... So with the Masters getting themselves geared up then and ready for the exciting battles out on the course, the MotoSurf World Championship continues here in the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates. The final race before the finals will be the Masters Heat 4 Group B with David and Petr Poźnik at the start of the race. The juniors are very much enjoying the spectacle of watching along, as are the contenders in the various classes. Pushing 43 degrees Celsius here today. By 1 o'clock, it's going to get to 44, by the way. So for anybody watching at home who wonders how hot can it really get in the United Arab Emirates, we're only scratching the surface. I've been coming to this country for several years now, and it's hot in April, but if you come here in June, that really is insanity. 47 degrees Celsius it can get to at the best of times, maybe even a push towards 48. But this is pretty intense for our riders. So David Poźnik, along with Petr Poźnik, Jiří Blahár, and Petr Faltisek from Roman Liščák-Kratochvíl, Stanislav Ganishkin, Murat Yoghanchila and Osman Cedereros from Andrei Atanasov and Ng Chiohong. So the riders getting into position. The pole sitter, David Poźnik, runs in position. His arm goes down. We wait for the signal to charge forward. They're going to overtake us, I'm sure, on this drone shot when they go into race mode. So we will charge forward. Well, the drone pilot's ready in anticipation for the start as well. Moves around the cross. They go past the buoy. That will signal the position for the start. And are we going to go to race mode? Surely we should do this time as they wait for the command signal. They get it, and we charge forward. And it's a terrific start from Roman Liščák-Kratochvíl. He's going to get straight through to second on the far side. But can he tighten out around the outside? Can he get through on the apex? He's going to hold it to the far side. He drops into third position, but that's still an incredible start from Roman Liščák-Kratochvíl. The 52-year-old from Austria makes an absolute stormer of a start. I'm sure that his son, Mad Leo, will be delighted with that. So now Romanisha Kratishvili finds himself right up at the sharp end in the top 3. There he is, trying to charge after the Pozniks. So David in front of Petter as they run through to the start gate. And then it's Romanisha Kratishvili, the Austrian, in 3rd position. They storm their way through then on this first lap. Plenty of opposition as they work their way forward. Couple of different lines taken there by the Pozniks as Petter decides to come out of the whitewash of David. And that makes life a little bit easier for him. But none of them going for the long lap on this first lap. They're all staying out there together. Although 2 of them have now decided, you know what, it's time to go to the long lap. Jiří Blahar and Stanislav Ganichkin both decide they're going to take the long lap on this occasion. So a really exciting run for the contenders as they continue to push forward. So through the battle will continue to resume. A very exciting opportunity for the contenders as they will continue to give us plenty of excitement and drama through here. But there's still plenty more to come from this particular battle. An exciting race. The number 2, Petr Poznik, fancies his chances to take on David. Got to stay with him like glue in the slaloms. And then they go over the finish gate. So 2 laps completed. David Poznik in front of Petr Poznik. Romanisha Kratishvili, after that terrific start, looks like he's got a genuine chance of grabbing a top 3 finish here. And that should cement his position in the finals. Only the top 12 go through. He wanted to be in the top 10. So that is looking likely that the Austrian is going to hit his targets. All 3 of the top 3 riders are going to take the long lap at the same time here. So interesting. I thought they would probably try and go opposing to each other on this occasion, but David and Petr Poznik takes the same chance to go on the long lap, and Romanisha Kratishvili goes with them, so there's no undercut strategy on this particular occasion. 1 and 2 go through together. What about Romanisha Kratishvili? Does he retain his 3rd position? We need to drop back and see who's behind the Pozniks. Well, he's just held onto it in front of Jiří Blahar. Oh my word, that's how close it can get on the exit of the long lap. So Jiří Blahar thinks, right, I didn't get him that time. I'll get him this time. I'll go on the long lap and undercut him again. Inches between the 2 riders. Nothing in it on the way out of the long lap as Petr Poznik tries again to close up on David Poznik. A really exciting run forward. And still the battles rage on. A really exciting charge as the contenders are putting on an excellent display so far here. And still the competitors having a really solid race of this. So still all of the competitors continuing on in full stride. It'll be an interesting competition as the contenders are still putting in a very solid effort here. Running through to the far side. And an exciting battle continues. So Petr Poznik hoping for his opportunity to move forward. And still there is going to be a really exciting run forward. Still some good positions to maintain. So there is going to be a very close run thing to the latter stages of this race. Once the 2nd long laps are completed, we'll finally see what the main strategy is. But the Pozniks are basically replicating each other at the moment. David and Petr Poznik. So still they will run in close proximity. They have a very strong connection through the slaloms. But at the moment it's still looking good for this man. David Poznik still has the edge. Petr Poznik is not far away though. There wasn't much to choose between the 2 of them. One going one way, the other going the other. And right in behind them now. All of them having taken 1 long lap. Romanisha Kratishvili still finds himself in 3rd in front of Stanislav Ganichkin and Jürgen Schiele. Everybody's taken at least 1 long lap now. So still they run in close proximity. But this is a chance again for Petr Poznik. Runs through. Again, he doesn't try to undercut David. I wonder if they've got an agreement between the 2 of them. Because David and Petr Poznik, if I was chasing down the leader, I would want to undercut them to try and go for the victory myself. But David Poznik clearly the two of them have decided, well, they may as well just take it nice and easy in the heats if they're running first and second and save the big stuff till the final, because they don't want to tire themselves out too much in the heat and then not have the same quantities of energy ready for the final later, I suppose. An interesting tactic there from Petr Pozník, just to follow in the draft of David Pozník the whole way. So Stanislav Kanichkin has joined Jiří Blahar and Petr Faltisek as taking the two long laps together. Bulgaria's Andrei Atanasov has also taken both long laps. Interestingly, Osman Sedat Erus decided not to start the race, the Turkish 007. So Petr Pozník still chasing down David. They're into the last lap. They've both got to take their final long lap. So it'll be intriguing to see what they decide to do in terms of their run through the course. They're both going to run together. No problems at all for the Pozníks, David and Petr. No problems at all as they race in close proximity with each other here. They're going to have a very solid end to this heat rotation with David Pozník in front of Petr Pozník, and it's going to be a family 1-2 here. Not a lot that the others can do to counteract it. Roman Kratishvili is going to be a few meters behind them. There he is on the long lap, going through to what's going to be third position. If he manages to hold on in front of Jiří Blahar, we need to double check, because Jiří Blahar was trying to overhaul Roman Kratishvili. So has he been able to get that into third position? We know the Pozníks are going to be 1 and 2. But Roman Kratishvili wants to hold on to that third position in front of the talented Jiří Blahar. We've got someone down in the drink. 2 riders down in the drink, in fact. So who is it that's gone? It's Roman Kratishvili. Did he clatter into Jiří Blahar? Because both of them have gone down. Roman Kratishvili falling into the water. Who else is with him? Was it Jiří Blahar? Because if that's the case, then Petr Faltisek is going to sweep through into third place. Well, the Pozníks are going to be first and second. No worries at all for David in front of Petr. But Roman Kratishvili fighting for third position has gone into the water, and it would not surprise me if the second rider down with him was Jiří Blahar. So the Pozníks come through in first and second. No worries at all for David. He takes the victory. David Pozník wins in front of Petr Pozník. But who's going to be third now? Because Roman Kratishvili went into the water. And I think it was his battle with Jiří Blahar that put them both in the drink. So who's that coming through for third? It is Petr Faltisek, I do believe. So across the line to finish up in third position. 1 and 2 are the Pozníks. But as the timing screen will update very shortly, I think that's Petr Faltisek that's come through into third position after the collision. Yes, it is. Between Roman Kratishvili and Jiří Blahar. They both went down together in the water. Their battle for third was too intense. And so there is the number 4, Petr Faltisek, their teammate, that comes through to third position. It is a 1-2-3 for Jet-Surf Pardubice. But devastating bad luck for Roman Kratishvili and Jiří Blahar. They crossed the line in 5th and 6th, but they were fighting for third position right to the last lap. When they came off the long lap together, they clearly tangled. So David Pozník wins from Petr Pozník. Petr Faltisek in third in front of Stanislav Kanichkin. Roman Kratishvili ahead of Jiří Blahar. Then Murat Yogachila, Andrei Atanasov and Ungji Chiohong ahead of the man who didn't start the race, of course. That was Osman Sedat Erus. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Our heats are completed for the first round of the 2025 UIM MotoSurf World Championship as Mad Leo decides to start the parade a little early here as he holds the Austrian flag aloft, waving it for his father Roman to be greeted on the shoreline. Great to see the nation's flags will now go around the shore in the flag parade. And it is really going to be exciting to see the different nations that we have here. So we're going to get to see some truly fantastic competitors from all 4 corners of the globe. Really has been fantastic to see them all in close proximity. And now they will tour around the course in fantastic fashion in our flag parade. So all of the contenders, or at least all of those who have been nominated to go out onto the course and put in a good show for the flag parade, will now take to the water. and they will wave their nation's flags aloft on the course, which will be a really nice and pleasant way for the continuation of such a truly international event to continue. We've got some great nations representing their countries here out in the fantastic waters of the United Arab Emirates. And so the flag parade will be a nice little way to kickstart the season in the pomp and circumstance of the ceremony. This sport is all about glamour and enjoyment. There is Irene Ho, who is the organizer of the Macau Grand Prix event at the end of the season, waving the Macau flag. We get to go to that particular event at the end of every season. Irene Ho, a particularly passionate advocate of the MotoSurf world, and very much an important member of our community. Such a fantastic personality, and we wouldn't be able to go to Macau at the end of every year without her. So fantastic to see everything continuing on in the majesty of all of the different nations that are being represented here. So many fantastic contenders from so many different parts of the course. So we're going to get to see a really exciting battle out on the course. The riders coming in after the Masters race, of course. There is Eunji Chiao-hong returning back to the shoreline. And of course, Eunji Chiao-hong is from Macau. So I have a feeling that Macau flag held by the organizer of the World Cup, Irene Ho, is going to be handed to Eunji Chiao-hong, who will then be able to make his way out onto the course for the flag parade. So the jet ski will take them out onto the shoreline once again and zip past onto the course. But the riders who have been selected to wave their nation's flag out on the water will get to do so. And we have a grand total of 18 nations around the world that are here today as part of this first round of the MotoSurf World Championship. A fantastic opportunity for all of the contenders from around the globe to wave their nation's flag. Of course, from the Czech Republic, because the majority of the field are from that particular country. That's where the sport of MotoSurf originates. But we'll also see contenders from Austria, from Belgium, from Macau, from the Russian Federation, from South Korea, from Bulgaria, from Kuwait, from Poland, from Cyprus, from Slovakia, from Italy, from Turkey, from Thailand, from Sweden, from China, from the United States of America, and of course, from the home nation, the United Arab Emirates. So here on the shoreline of the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates, it really has been a fantastic battle across all of these different competitions. And really great to see how everybody has put on such a spectacular display out here on the course. And the UIM MotoSurf World Championship 2025 season kickoff really couldn't have been in a better location. We were here 2 months ago for the World Games qualifiers, which saw 24 men and 19 women take their seats in the MotoSurf World Games teams. We'll obviously have 3 competitions at the World Games. We'll have the women's, the men's, and the Nations Cup, where 1 man and 1 woman will represent each of their nations in turn. And we're seeing all of the countries getting themselves prepared out on the shoreline. The one Italian in the field there, Lorenzo Tanda, looking to make his way onto the board once again for the flag parade. This was a wonderful part of the event at the Macau World Cup at the end of November. I got to experience it after the last final, just in front of the shoreline. But this year we decided, as the presence and the broadcast coverage of the UIM MotoSurf World Championship accelerates in its development, this is not the kind of thing that should be behind closed doors or subjected purely to social media. This is something that we wanted to show you on the live stream. And so the flag parade of the 18 nations that are here, it'll be fabulous to see them all out on the course, putting in such a great display. And we will, of course, register and recognize all of the contenders across the different groups. So great to see all of the riders recognized on the closing stages. Not all of them have made the final, we should point out, because not all of them have been able to have that kind of display. But of course, it's always important to ensure that the contenders will do the best they possibly can, and it's great to see everybody put on a great display nonetheless. So now we'll get to see all of the contenders in fantastic fashion out on the course. And so we'll get to see them in each of their individual nations out there in fine style. So with everybody getting themselves geared up and ready for the parade, there's obviously going to be a lot of contenders from the Czech Republic. Almost the majority, well, pretty much the majority of the contenders are from the Czech Republic. This is the sport that was born in this particular nation. So do not be too surprised to see a massive waft of enthusiasm for the Czech competitors. There are plenty of them in the field. But there's also great appreciation for the riders from the alternate nations as well. So everybody is going to want to put on their glad rags and get out here on the beach and have some fun. So many contenders taking to the water then to put on a fantastic showcase. Great to see everybody. And they will enjoy themselves, I'm sure. So with all of the racers now making their way to the water, we'll get to celebrate all of them from each of their individual nations. The flag of Turkey, represented, of course, as they are by Efe Gürsoy, Ender Yorgançılar, Ismail Kaptanoglu and Murat Yorgançılar, as well as Osman Sedat Örüs, 5 competitors from Turkey. And there is the flag of Slovakia. Plenty of opportunities for them to put on a good show this year. Sara Zubarova, the flag is being waved on this occasion by Emma Struchalova. There is the flag of Macau, which is currently having 2 riders represent them, of course, Su Chi Leong and Enji Chiao Hong. Plenty more riders from Macau when we get to the next port of call. The flags of Bulgaria, just the one competitor from Bulgaria in this weekend, that is Andrei Atanasov, the 41-year-old. Down in the drink goes the Chinese contender. The flag being represented, of course, of China, with so many great competitors, the likes of Yue Nijin and Zhang Maozhu. We've also got the Italian flag out there for Lorenzo Tanda, the Belgian flag out there for Jano Vankersbilk, the Austrian flag out there for Roman and Leo Lischel-Kratishvili, the American flag of Anthony Squire, the Lone Ranger for the United States of America. Emma Struchalova there holding up the flag for Slovakia. And there's plenty of great athletes out there putting on a great show for us. The Swedish flag is in the mix there as well for Hannes Hultberg. The Cypriot flag is held aloft by Mike Michailidis. The Emirati flag is going to be held up for the United Arab Emirates by either Abdullah Al-Blushi or Ali Al-Hameri. Those are the 2 riders representing the United Arab Emirates. There are several contenders for Kuwait here this weekend as well, the neighbouring nation. For Faraz Ramadan, for Hassan Bouabas, and also for Mohammed Al-Tamimi. And of course, so many riders representing the Czech Republic, none the least of whom are the competitors that will race for them in the Nations Cup in the World Games later this year. Eliska Matuskova and Lukas Johorski. Well, the flags of the nations aloft for this fantastic flag parade. So the contenders are putting on an excellent display and showing us exactly what they're made of. Great little scenes here around the waters of Fujairah. For the Czech Republic, for Austria, for Macau, for Belgium, for Russia, for Korea, for Bulgaria, for Kuwait, for Poland, for Cyprus, for Slovakia, for Italy, for Thailand, for Turkey, for Sweden, for China, for the United States of America, and of course for the United Arab Emirates, the home nation. The flag parade of the MotoSurf World Championship, brought to you by the UIM, held at the Fujairah Marine Sports Club, under the patronage of His Highness, the Crown Prince of Fujairah, who has been such a fantastic character and personality in this event from the start. Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad Al Sharki. It's been such an amazing turnout for this event. Even the flag of Mexico, I think, is being held aloft there. That's in deference to a few of our fans who are not here with us. But we are going to have Mexico represented, of course, at the World Games later this season. Excellent to see so many flags of nations held aloft here, as all of the competitors from all the fledgling nations are enjoying being on the shoreline here in the United Arab Emirates. The welcome we have had from the Crown Prince and from the Fujairah Marine Club has been absolutely exceptional. What a way to start the season. as the flags of the various 18 nations that are represented in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship get to show us such a fantastic display. There are no rules for this flag parade as Anthony Squire puts on a bit of an airborne show coming down the shoreline. And there you can see everybody just enjoying the moment with flag after flag and rider after rider leaping through the waves. So a fantastic situation for all of our contenders. A brilliant situation and a brilliant display. So now it's a very fantastic continuation. And so they are going to continue on in fantastic fashion over the course of the parade. Everyone really enjoying themselves out there. A wonderful display from all of our magnificent competitors. And so all of the riders just giving us a really good taste of what this sport is all about. We've had so many fantastic competitors around this course. Wonderful to see them all enjoying themselves with a little bit of a flavour now. Having so much fun out there on the course. Enjoying the leaps and the bounds. This is what you don't get to do in race trim. You've got to be a little bit more sensible, a bit more regulated when you're actually racing. This is the kind of stuff that they want to do that they're not allowed to. Absolutely wonderful to see them all put on such a terrific showcase out here on the course. It really has been a fantastic first weekend of the championship. There's so much more great racing to do, and we cannot wait for it all to unfold. I'm really excited to see how this season continues to develop, but so far, so good. And there's a lot more exciting battles to come from this amazing season. We're only in the first round of the championship. We head to Turkey for the second round of the championship later this year, as well as some great performances later on in the season in Italy and Croatia, and then of course the season finale in Macau. But it really has been a sensational charge forward around the beautiful shoreline here. We're going to get to see some truly fantastic competition as the racing continues to ramp up. The flag of Macau, that's where our season finale will take place, of course, in November. It's where I first got into the sport, and it's always going to hold a very special place in my affections. Well, the flag parade, wonderful sights here in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship, the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates. This afternoon, after our lunch break, we're going to have a fantastic set of finals for the junior boy, the junior girl, the masters, the women's category, the Rookie Merlin Plus, the stock category, and of course the elite. So we'll see some fantastic racing this afternoon. It's going to be really exciting out on the shoreline here. And there is Eunjin Lee holding the flag for Korea. She couldn't race this morning due to the injuries that have basically taken her out of the competition, but she still gets to finish her week in her style out there on the course, holding the flag of South Korea. She is the adrenaline junkie. She is the gladiator. And that's a proud moment for her to finish off her week her way. So not all of the contenders out here for the flag parade will get to compete in the finals, but they will certainly get to represent their countries in the best way. The lone racers for their nations, Mike Michailidis of Cyprus, Hannes Hultberg of Sweden, and there Lorenzo Tanda of Italy, the Italian stallion. Going to be great to see what he can do this afternoon in the stock category. Hopefully he's going to have a great run in the rookie race. Could well be fighting for the podium later on. And it's wonderful to see all of our nations gather together in such a fantastic collection of athletes who really do make the UIM MotoSurf World Championship community what it is. Fantastic, rapid, energetic, adrenaline-fueled, and blessed. This is a fantastic group of people, male and female, young and old, across Americas, Asia, and across Europe. Doesn't matter where you come from. If you're in this sport, you're a very special type of person. And from my book, the kind of person you want in your family for life. Excellent stuff from Eun Lee, who actually goes into the water as she celebrates her style there. Hopefully that hasn't done too much damage. But Eun Lee finishing her week her way here in Fujairah, waving the flag of South Korea aloft. And there is the flag of Macau being brought across to the shoreline once again as the flag parade continues. Can't wait to go to Macau at the end of this season. It really is a fantastic part of our calendar. Zhang Maozhou enjoying himself with the flag of China. Watch for him in the stock category later on. He's going to be a real contender for the victory in the final. But it looks as though a lot of the contenders are finishing off their flag parade now. Jano Vankersbilk has brought his board in, and a nice little collapse there with the Turkish flag. I think that's Murat Yogachila. I could be wrong. It's hard when they haven't given us the list of who's holding which flag, as Zhang Maozhou does a nice little donut in the water. Well, that's a very salty donut if ever I've seen one. Great stuff from Zhang Maozhou. Expect big things from him later this afternoon. It's a wonderful way to conclude the heats section of the week. And we're going to see some great performances in the finals later, where there will be no holds barred. The races are going to give us plenty of entertainment, I'm sure. So as the flag parade will draw to a conclusion, the riders make their way back in. Emma Struchalova having waved the flag for Slovakia. All the other riders coming in to finish off their flag parade. It's been an absolutely fantastic display. 18 different nations. There is Eun Lee finishing off her week for South Korea. Hopefully she'll be back to her physical best at Turkey 2 months from now in preparation for her participation in the ladies category of the World Games, where she has a great chance of going for a medal. She'll also represent the Nations Cup, of course, for South Korea, up alongside Down Kim. What an amazing combination that's going to be when they get to the Nations Cup. Down Kim and Eun Lee fighting for the Nations Cup in Chengdu this summer. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be a really exciting competition. So as the riders make their way in, having had a fantastic time on the boards, the Macanese flag just cruising around there on the board. Our riders having a fantastic time on the water. This is the only part of the playtime where they really get to enjoy themselves. They're not really focusing on speed. They're not focusing on a race victory of any kind. They're just enjoying themselves out there in the water. Always nice to have this kind of moment. So great to see all of the 18 nations participating this week represented. One or two other nations' flags were out there as well for our friends who have not been able to compete here this week. Very much on my mind at the moment are the likes of Rihanna DeVoe and Mark Andrews, the athletes for Canada, who hopefully we'll be able to see later on in the season. So the contenders will finish off their flag parade. Looks like the man from Macau is staying out a little bit longer. Clearly wants to enjoy himself out there just a little bit more than some of the others out there on the course. But then he's got a mission. He's got something else up his sleeve, I think, for this final part of the flag parade. So while I mentioned earlier on that the UIM MotoSurf World Championship is a fantastic community of people and fantastic athletes, there is a very special warmth and love that can be felt all the way through this particular part of the world. And this community full of incredible athletes. And there's one man who's decided that the flag parade's just got a little bit more to it than this. Finally going to make his way to the shoreline, our young man from Macau. Falls into the water. That's the way to do it. And that's because there's a very special final twist to this particular flag parade. And that's because there's one final task in this particular flag parade for our athlete from Macau. And that's because he's been waiting to do something for quite some time. Irene Ho his partner, the organizer of the Macau Grand Prix, he's got something rather special that he would like to do. I think you can guess, folks. This is quite an incredible moment down here on the shoreline. What an amazing moment at the end of the flag parade as Irene Ho is given the chance to celebrate with her partner. Go on, Irene, say yes. Oh, yes, she did. Yes, she did. She said yes on the shoreline of Fujairah. Fantastic. Irene Ho, you are a very, very lucky lady. What a way to start the 2025 season. That's our first marriage proposal of the UIM MotoSurf World Championship 2025. What a moment. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, something special at the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. What a lovely way to go into the lunch break. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave them at it. This is a very private moment now. I know we've made it particularly public, but we'll leave them to enjoy the moment, and we'll be back in time for the finals later on. The UIM MotoSurf World Championship has a lot of speed, a lot of grace, and a lot of love. See you in a bit.